Green Bay's not going anywhere without Aaron Rodgers in the next few years.
This is the Rich Eisen Show.
Brett Favre here.
Available now on the Rich Eisen Show app.
I think that they burned a bridge that's going to be hard to overcome.
Today's guests, ESPN baseball insider Jeff Passan, Las Vegas Raiders general manager Mike Mayock, retired 49ers offensive lineman Joe Staley, Pro Football Hall of Famer Deion Sanders, plus Academy Award-winning actor Matthew McConaughey. And now, it's Rich Eisen.
Oh, yeah. That's a great way to start our show, is with a made putt, as T.J. Jefferson, Rich Eisen Show social media grandmaster, just did. I'm wearing a black V-neck sweater with a French blue shirt. Kind of matches the color scheme of the Rich Eisen Show logo that's behind me. I'm feeling good about myself and about this program today. That's how we're coming on the air.
I mean, you got your haircut yesterday?
YouTube.com/Rich Eisen Show. The lid's tightened, which is a rarity these days. That's Brockman. That's Del Tufo. Good to see you, gentlemen.
Hi, Rich.
Good to see you, gentlemen. And hello to our listeners at Sirius XM Channel 211. Dan Patrick Radio. DP Radio, everybody. Always thrilled to come right on the air here after DP and the Danettes are done with their fantastic 3 hours. And then we join you here all the way up to 3 Eastern time. And we say hello to our YouTube viewers, youtube.com/Rich Eisen Show, all the 454s in the Rich Eisen Show YouTube wormhole. We are appreciative of their and all of your support. And, man, we've got another full house today. Jeff Passan of ESPN MLB coverage. He's an MLB insider. Is what we are hearing, what potentially somebody I'm looking at right now is involved in dropping all sorts of breadcrumbs on his Twitter feed, and he's talking to people about an impending baseball season.
Should you be talking about that, Mike?
You are dropping breadcrumbs,
I can talk
bro.
a little bit about it. It's going to be pretty cool how it's done.
That baseball is really thinking of gearing back up.
Yeah.
And July, apparently first week of July is the time that they're pegging. And if that's the case, when we're going to start hearing about, this is it. It's going to have to be go time. Certainly if if they're going to have to quarantine, probably, and this is what we'll talk about with Jeff Passan. What do you think about 50-man roster, 60-man roster? You gotta. If you got 25 guys on an active roster, supposedly, and then usually the teams that have a particular rash of injuries, which you have to feel is going to come, right? With, talk about players who need to be routinized more than anybody else. It's probably baseball players. And, spring training is now going to be maybe summer training, and the fall classic will literally be a fall classic, and we'll see how it all does play out. But you got to start quarantining a whole bunch of people like toot sweet. And so we'll talk to Jeff Passan about all of that. And then we have got a lot of football on the mind, as always. Mike Mayock, the general manager of your Las Vegas Raiders, will be joining us on this program, and I'm appreciative of Mike doing this. He doesn't do this a lot anymore, but as you know, we go way back. Joe Staley will be joining us. He is the recently retired all-pro tackle from the offensive line of your NFC champion, defending NFC champion San Francisco 49ers, and there is conversation that Staley will be up for consideration for the Pro Football Hall of Fame one day.
Oh.
Where Deion Sanders currently resides with his bust and his bandana. And Sanders Claus, look at that flowing beard on the screen right there. Look at that.
It is outrageous.
By the way, Cooper did say that to me, Dad, what's with Deion's beard?
He did?
He did. Yeah. So I'm going to basically go there.
I think that's how you know.
And then we have an Academy Award winner, Matthew McConaughey, on this program on Tuesday. Matthew McConaughey and Canelo Alvarez took part in a PSA that launched that is targeted at the Spanish-speaking community to, if you can stay at home, and if not, wear a mask. And Matthew is fluent in the language, as you will see in the PSA with Canelo Alvarez. And that'll be later on. We'll catch up with the diehard Redskins fan from the state of Texas, who's the ambassador of Quan there for the University of Texas.
Nice.
Right?
Nice.
And so that'll be later on. I think this is his 4th or 5th appearance on this show. He did. He made one.
Let's
He made.
see.
I think he made 2 here in person and 1 in New York.
I think this is
our
4.
yes. This is 4th.
I think this is 4.
He's never phoned in. He's only been in person, which we always appreciate.
Right.
And I do believe we do have some hard alcohol that he dropped here
We
the
do.
last time.
We haven't opened it yet, which
We have
is a
not.
little bit disappointing. But
I don't know.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll pop that out later on too. Not uncork it.
Just
We want the NBC folks to
on
understand
display.
we're sober. We're sober when we do this
on
program.
display.
Okay, so it is 5 o'clock somewhere. And as I tweeted out the other day, that sensation of it's 5 o'clock somewhere appears to be dawning on me earlier and earlier on the clock every single weekend.
You're only human.
I'm only human. Hey, some news got made around these parts.
Sure did.
Yesterday.
Yeah.
I don't know. What's the lead story? What Favre said about Rodgers yesterday, or the fact that the potential quarterback of the New England Patriots future just popped out on the free agent market?
That's not happening.
I don't know about that. I just want higher register on you.
In all honesty, they don't have the cap space. They have $1 million free in cap room right now. So I don't think Andy Dalton's signing for less than Jameis Winston.
Free. So then did the next quarterback of the Jacksonville Jaguars just pop?
Now that makes most sense, and that's what everyone's kind of connecting the dots here because
Jay
of
Gruden,
Jay Gruden
was the offensive coordinator there.
He had his best years in Cincinnati under Jay Gruden.
When Jay Gruden was the offensive coordinator there. Yeah. And Andy Dalton is a good guy who deserves a shot.
Been to the playoffs 4 times.
I know.
Hasn't won yet, but
the all-time touchdown pass leader in the history of the Cincinnati Bengals. Andy Dalton.
That's true.
Yes, sir. Fact.
More than Boomer?
More than Boomer.
Wow.
Andy Dalton.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
First team all hair.
Look at
Andy
that.
Dalton?
Look at Field Yates. Field Yates backing me up. So is Don Bowie and the rest of the Rich Eisen show crew having that tweet up there. All-time passing leader and passing touchdowns. Second in passing yards, most fourth quarter comebacks, game-winning drives for your Cincinnati Bengals. Those are all leading the pack.
All right.
3 Pro Bowls, 5 playoff appearances, and then of course Field Yates just adds at the very end, real solid run.
Oh,
Now look,
really, we're gonna do that?
Hold on a minute. Let me just say this: the word "solid" is a great word when you're referring to something that you can bang on, right? Or when you need the opposite of liquid. Okay? Or a great slang word for favor.
Do me a solid.
Do me a solid.
Yeah.
Do me a solid.
Got it.
But when you refer to somebody's work as solid,
if you said solid to me, Rich, I'm done.
when you refer to somebody's work as solid, it's a second-tier compliment. Real solid. Hey, Chris, the job you're doing,
Solid.
yeah, you're solid. It's real solid.
Yeah, I wouldn't take that. No.
I mean,
Right? Hey, Del Tufo,
I'm a solid.
real solid. Real solid work out of you. And for Andy Dalton of the Cincinnati Bengals, that's more than solid. That's more than solid. Certainly since the free football world points the finger of blame, which always comes out in the Metroplex. That's where the finger of blame always pops loose, mostly in the NFL and in Dallas. But the dreaded finger of blame is mostly pointed at Marvin Lewis. And Andy Dalton doing what he did in Cincinnati. Oh, yeah, look at that. That's very solid. Just like that, the release of Andy Dalton, that's how much comes off of the cap. Now, you could say, Christopher, that your Patriots don't have room for him. What did Jameis Winston just sign after leading the league in passing yards? What do you think? Andy Dalton's going to sit there and command a salary that the Patriots can't meet by figuring something out? Come on now.
Patriots have $1.7 million in cap
Great.
space.
Guess how much they could pay Andy Dalton? Hey, Andy, do you want to be the starting quarterback or compete for a starting job with Brian couldn't make a first down for his life Hoyer last year and Jared Stidham? Jameis just signed for $1.1 million base.
Andy Dalton's better than Jameis Winston.
Jameis Winston just signed for a $1.1 million base to be a backup. And you could say, Andy, how would you like to come to the New England Patriots? Your coach is Bill Belichick. Your offensive coordinator is Josh McDaniels. The issue is you've got to make about 1.5, and we will load it with incentives. Come on now. They can figure that out. If they want. That'll be wonderful. It would be wonderful because I think Andy Dalton deserves the shot. I think Andy Dalton is more than solid. I think it would be a more than solid move for your New England Patriots, Christopher. And on top of it all, I would just love to see the verbal and mental gymnastics that all of Patriots Nation would have to go through.
Talking themselves
to
into
own
this?
Andy Dalton. Yes. To talk yourself into Andy Dalton's a very good alternative to Tom Brady. You know what most of New England would say about that idea? Solid. That's a solid idea.
You want to make that the poll today?
What's more solid? Who would you rather have, Winston or Dalton?
For 2020?
Who would you rather have, Winston or Dalton?
That's it?
That's it.
That's it? That's all we're going to say?
That's it.
All right.
You could even go shorter. Would you rather? Question mark.
Okay, great.
No. I don't know. 'Cause I think Winston would win that poll.
You
and
do?
rightfully so. The guy led the league in passing last year.
They had to, though. They were losing every
What do you
game.
mean they had to? He didn't have to. He led the league in passing last year. 2 of his receivers went to the Pro Bowl. Last person to quarterback that was Kurt Warner.
Andy Dalton is a much better quarterback than Jameis Winston.
And I'm not just saying that because our first guest on NBCSN tomorrow is Jameis Winston. And he's agreed to come on the show, and we've asked him, and he's coming on his first nationally broadcast interview since joining the Saints. But, dude, how many people in the NFL how many quarterbacks would get credit for having 2 Pro Bowl wide receivers?
They would all get
except for Jameis Winston. Oh, yeah, Arians, it's the offense. Oh, look at Evans. He's really good. Godwin, he was on the up. I think Winston would win that poll. You don't think so?
Should we add Cam Newton to this?
Sure. I think Cam would then win it too.
You do? You've been saying for months now that he's banged up, but he's got to prove that he's healthy.
I haven't said that he's got to prove it. I would get Cam Newton tomorrow. If I'm the Los Angeles Chargers, I would have done that. But instead, they had a plan. They're going to go get this rookie, and they're going to start, I guess, sacrificing wins on the altar of getting better for the long term.
All right, so we've Cam off?
I don't know, man. We got some time.
I sort of want to add Nick Foles. He's the same type of player as Andy and Winston.
Go for it, Chris. See how it works. 844-204-RICH is the number to dial. Jeff Passan's going to join us to talk a little baseball in about 7 minutes' time. And let's get to the story. I'm, seeing it all over the place right now. Although I'm seeing it on the screen right there without the Rich Eisen show courtesy.
Oh, what show?
Dude, I'm just learning a lot about this. Huh?
What show do you have on?
Somebody just had a take, and it sucked. Somebody's having a take right now.
It was not racked.
And what sucks about it is there was the full screen, and it didn't say Rich Eisen show. He might have verbally said it. I don't know.
Okay. Epic.
Well, I mean, Rich Eisen show is more than 3 syllables, right? Arugula.
No,
this is the Rich Eisen show.
That's all I want.
It needs to be at least 4 syllables.
How tough is it? At any rate, our good country friend Brett Favre came on yesterday and does what he always does, which is spit truth and just tell us what's on his mind. And it was interesting how he said that he had spoken to Rodgers and he was going to leave it alone, but then he did term Rodgers a little surprised at the selection of Jordan Love, and added this about Rodgers and the immediate future through the prism of the long-term future for the guy who replaced Brett there so expertly that it is the envy of so many other franchises to go from one such quarterback to another. So rare. This is what Brett Favre had to say yesterday.
Green Bay's not going anywhere without Aaron Rodgers in the next few years. If he plays like we expect him to play, they got a shot with or without a first-round receiver. He's that good. So I would do all I could to not burn that bridge. And I don't think that they did that. I think that they burned a bridge that it's going to be hard to overcome. At some point, I think it will rear its ugly head.
Now, when Brett said that, I thought he meant 2-3 years down the road, because Jordan Love, that's how long it's going to take. At least that's what the evaluation of him was. Get Jordan Love, let him sit behind somebody, and eventually he'll get out there with Mahomes type ability. We even talked about that with Jordan Love 2 Thursdays ago when he joined us on the morning of his drafting by Green Bay to trade up to go get him, which Favre even pointed out many times was the crawl. That's what sticks in your craw the most, is they traded up to go get him. It's not like the situation with him and Aaron Rodgers where Rodgers dropped to them. But no, he said there's could rear its ugly head in 2020.
From a relationship standpoint, it sends the wrong message. And I think when adversity hits this year, 0-3, couple bad games or whatever, that it's going to rear its ugly head, and the daggers are going to be out.
Now that was the thing that surprised me. First of all, little birdie told me keep an eye peeled for the schedule next week.
Okay.
And as you know, I'm familiar with those birds. And there's no schedule announcement unless this bird actually starts talking. From Studio 2, desk left position in the Rich Eisen home office.
If you need me to zoom in, I'm available.
I'll let you know.
Thanks.
By that, I mean I won't.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, it's solid. I'll let you know.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
I we'll have to see the schedules. That would be a surprising start 0-3. And even then, I think what his point is that there's going to be enough drama built up when a microphone is put in front of Aaron Rodgers, or when he decides to maybe front load it by appearing on a show similar to this one, if not one that rhymes with Sitch, Eisen. I don't know. But I'd be surprised if it's this year. That was one of the only things that Brett said that caused me to say I would disagree with you on that. I do not see an 0-3 start, and I do not see anything. But there would be enough people that that are out there already talking about how Rodgers isn't the proper fit for this system.
We're starting to hear that.
I mean, we heard that towards the end of the McCarthy era. McCarthy goes, this guy comes in, and we're thinking, hey, how's he going to learn to change his spots for somebody who's his age, who's never done it before? Well, he did. And they almost went to the Super Bowl, and they were almost the 1 seed. And yet, everybody watches all 22 film, came out and retweeted a video earlier this week that hit our show feed because it was on this show right at this time 2 days ago. Greg Cosell said, I'm looking at the film, and Rodgers is leaving a ton of throws out on the field, and he's leaving a ton of throws out there in the middle of the field, which is exactly where Matt LaFleur wants to attack. And Rodgers is going to the Hall of Fame, and he's going to the Hall of Fame because he makes tons of plays that he shouldn't really have to make because he's not making the plays he should make. Does that make sense?
It does make sense.
That's essentially what Greg Cosell said, and a ton of Packers observers said, you know what? This is not a bad take. You know what? This is an interesting take. You know what? Listen to this take. And Brett Favre, when I brought that up to him yesterday, said, I don't disagree. And then his answer came from the point of view I'm sure Rodgers has, because he's a first ballot Hall of Famer like Brett Favre turned out to be. And Favre was essentially saying, guess what? Even if he did leave some throws out on the field, they almost damn made the Super Bowl, didn't they? And I'm thinking when they lost to the San Francisco 49ers, the plays that were left out on the field that we're still talking about is Raheem Mostert hitting his head on the goalpost against that defense that they could have shored up with Patrick Queen. And I think when Raheem Mostert was the last player guest at Draftathon Live, he joined me 2 minutes before the end of the broadcast on Saturday.
Yeah.
I checked as he checked in just to see if his forehead was okay because he had just hit it on the goalpost 5 minutes before. That's how he ran against that team.
So the worst Aaron Rodgers has ever started. 3 years in a row, 2012, 13, and 14, he started 1-2.
So, again, I don't see it happening this year. I do see it playing out to, quote-unquote, rear its ugly head when his contract starts running out of guaranteed money. And the Packers start running out of patience to try and figure out what Jordan Love is, to either flip him like Garoppolo, like the Patriots did, or to pay him. Pick up a fifth-year option that they earned by trading up to make sure they got him in the first round. That's when I think this thing's going to come to its, if you will, ugly head. And the one way that Rodgers can sheath those daggers from coming out is to do what Brady did. Go to the Super Bowl and win it. He wins it. He brings another title to Titletown. He could sit back, put his feet up on the desk like Red Auerbach, light the cigar, and say, how'd you like that first-round selection, Green Bay? You're going to let me go now? You're going to trade me? You're going to let me walk? You're going to turn me into Favre? You want me to show up in Minnesota because the Vikings are done paying Kirk Cousins like a baseball player? Just throwing that all out there. We'll talk about it with Deion Sanders later, who definitely would agree with Favre's supposition that he made yesterday that it's not Rodgers' job to mentor Jordan Love. And our friend Joe Staley from the San Francisco 49ers, Mike Mayock, is just one of an alliterative double M's. Matthew McConaughey will be our final guest today. But I turn to our phone lines right now, 844-204-RICH, or our guest phone line. But I turn to our fan phone line, our guest phone line from ESPN MLB Insider Extraordinaire. Our friend Jeff Passan returns to the program. How are you, Jeff?
What illustrious company I'm keeping today, Rich.
You know,
My
Jeff,
goodness.
Jeff, I only know one speed, but you're in the Ricky Henderson slot. You're in the Ricky Henderson slot. So
Jeff's going to be Jeff.
No, just here's what you do. You can either knock it over the fence or you can reach base and wind up on third by 2 minutes into this conversation. That's either one. You could do either one if you're Ricky Henderson. So
honestly, Ricky we get really nostalgic these days, right?
Yep.
And I look back on players of my youth, and I think Ricky Henderson was probably the best player I saw growing up. He was just – I would love to see Ricky play these days where it's okay to pimp a home run.
Yes.
and to do all of the things that Ricky did anyway, even when it wasn't okay – because he was Ricky.
The snatch catch. Don't forget the snatch catch. Don't forget
Ricky talked in the third person when talking in the third person was talking in the third person is actually always frowned upon, isn't it? Like if someone were to talk in the third person these days, we'd be like, what are you doing talking in the third person? You know what? Ricky would still do it. Ricky didn't care. Ricky, Howard Bryant, my good friend who works with me at ESPN, is doing a Ricky Henderson biography right now.
Fantastic.
And let me tell you, man, I cannot wait to read that.
Neither can I. Two things. First, Jeff, you've only called into this show. You've never physically been here to our Los Angeles Rich Eisen Show studios, and we look forward to the day that you can make it. But I would introduce you to my audio executive, Mike Del Tufo, who refers to himself as Del Tufo. So...
I am.
That's right. So you are the king of our third person here.
I love third person.
I mean, are we talking like Del Tufo is going to get lunch? Like he'll just say that about himself?
I don't think so. But
Del Tufo's good.
Yeah,
it's a lot of.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Self-congratulatory.
Self-congratulatory.
Yes, it's self-congratulatory.
Yeah.
That's number one. And then before we move on from the subject, I love the fact that we stumbled into this to start. The story of Ricky Henderson reaching base and telling John Olerud, who wore a helmet in the field because of his head injury that he had, or was it surgery or something like that? That he told John Olerud, hey, I used to play with a guy who used to wear a helmet playing first base, and Olerud turned to him and say, that was me, Ricky. Is that a true story? Did that really happen?
That's a true story.
I just thought that was the stuff.
True story. The one that I don't know,
yes,
if it's true or not, and I'm looking forward to the book, to see this, because I'm sure Howard will talk about it, is like deep into his career, there was a seat that was open at the front of the bus, and somebody told Ricky to sit there, and Ricky's like, "Why do you want me to sit here?" And someone said to him, "Because you've got tenure." And Ricky looked at him, and this is just, I don't know if this is an apocryphal story or if it's true. Ricky looked at him and said, "I don't have tenure. I've been around for 20 years."
I mean, he's a
legend.
legend.
And in the telling of the story, it's Ricky's been around for 20 years.
Yes, right. It's right. Yeah. He used the third person. And which one do you want to bring up, Chris?
Well, there's a story that Ricky got like $1 million bonus check or something, and he framed it instead of cashing it.
That would be.
Here's the thing, Ricky. Like, I don't know if they make him like Ricky anymore, because you hear stories about him, and you believe all of them are true.
Yes,
because they are so ridiculous, but the ones that have actually been confirmed as real are just as ridiculous. So if you're dealing with a ridiculous person, why is he going to act normal or rational? It goes against type. It's a zebra with the stripes.
See, this story alone, Jeff, you're on base, batting leadoff, man. See, and now you're now I need to keep an eye on you because you're about to take second and then third. I just loved it. I just loved when Ricky was a Yankee. It was so amazing. It was so glorious, and obviously the A's, and we can go on and on. But let's get to, I guess, the story at hand. Jeff Passan of ESPN here on the Rich Eisen Show. While we're on the subject, I guess what's real and what's not. This is real, right? Major League Baseball intends to play baseball in 2020. This is a real conversation and a real possibility, Jeff, yes?
This is a very real thing that I think most of the stakeholders around the game, and we're talking people in the commissioner's office, we're talking players, we're talking executives, we're talking those who have the ability to make that decision. I think together they're all on board with the idea of playing this year. Now, there are still hurdles. There are going to be hurdles, and I said this yesterday. I was on Adrian Wojnarowski's podcast. It was me, him, and Adam Schefter, and we were just talking about the different sort of states of affair with our sports and what it's going to be like to get them back. And the point that I made was there are going to be catastrophic screw-ups along the way because we are just dealing with the complete unknown. And not only the complete unknown, but something that has the ability to change direction like Barry Sanders. I mean, it could be looking great one day, and all of a sudden, 2 minutes later, it's like we're going backward. And we have to, I think as a society and the sports themselves, be willing to accept that there may be failures, there may be bad decisions that are made, but ultimately along the way, so long as they are keeping health and safety at the forefront of their minds rather than money and profit, so long as they're doing this judiciously and with the health and safety, not just of the players, but the coaches, the managers, everybody involved, and the American public in mind, I think there is room, Rich, for sports right now, and I think that the room is complemented by appetite for it.
No question about that, Jeff. There's no doubt about that. And when you say that the public and everyone else has to understand that there could be a monumental screw-up, and that wouldn't be, we're hoping, a human error or the fault of a lack of planning or incompetence. It's just, again, the virus acts on its own time, and it acts in its own way, and it acts in a way that experts and science-based individuals are still trying to figure out. So the question is would the players buy in? Would the players buy into, all right, I'm going to quarantine for a month away from wife, kids, or can I bring wife, kids, or are certain teams going to, not going to allow wife, kids, and then other teams are, I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like we're twisting a Rubik's Cube right here. What about the players, Jeff?
Yeah. Listen, we're twisting a Rubik's Cube, Rich, but as I can attest, my 12-year-old can solve a Rubik's Cube in about 20 seconds.
Well, that's probably yanking the pieces out and putting them back together. That's what I did when I was 9.
He's not one of those kids who switches the stickers.
Damn.
I'm going to have to send you a video when we're off the air here. You're going to see this.
Okay.
And your first reaction is going to be, Passan, that cannot possibly be your child.
I look forward to that. That'll be great. We'll put it on our feeds.
It's pretty spectacular. Here's the thing about the players. They hold power here. You know, they don't hold all the cards, but they can very easily say, if we don't feel safe, if we don't feel confident in this, we're not going to play. The issue is right now a lot of the concern on the player side is financial. And that is totally understandable, Rich, I think, in a vacuum. If you feel like you signed a contract and agreed to a deal with Major League Baseball, which the Players Association did, that guarantees you, in your mind, a particular amount of money for services rendered, and now owners are saying, oh, wait, hold on a second. We're probably not going to have fans in the stands. We're not going to have the revenues that we thought we were going to, so you might need to take a little haircut. That's not going to sit well with players. And I get that. My hope in this situation is that all the parties involved recognize that this is about more than what an individual, whether it is a player or an owner, is doing financially. This is, and I hate to make it bigger than it actually is, because, look, we're talking about games, we're talking about sports, but I think this is a potentially important thing for the country, and something that people really can and should look forward to, not just to have the games back, but to have that sliver of normalcy. And it's going to be an abnormal normal, Rich. It's going to be games played at the beginning without fans in the stands, probably in a number of cases in either minor league or college parks. Like, it's going to be a little discomforting at the beginning. But the comfortable part we're going to have are the sounds, are the actions, are the things that with which we've grown familiar throughout the years, and that to me symbolize summer for us. And that's just watching a ball game, regardless of where it is, regardless of how it's being played. It's baseball, and if it's back, that is better than it not being back.
No doubt about it. Jeff Passan here on the Rich Eisen Show. So walk me through. I know about the 10-team divisions. I get it, but walk me through.
The 10-team divisions is not real. That was incorrect.
Okay, so what is correct then? There
are a lot of plans going on right now. And there are a lot of things that are being considered. That particular one, the details of it just weren't right. But there could be a scenario in which, and I think of all the likely ones, this is just me, I'm not saying guessing. This is kind of educated guessing, but it's also trying to be logical about it. To me, the two plans that seem to work best are the idea of three city hubs and 5 city hubs. And in the 3-city plan, you wouldn't necessarily have a 10-team division, but you could have, actual AL West and NL West gathering in Phoenix, and the AL Central and NL Central gathering in the Dallas metropolitan area, and the AL East and the NL East gathering down in Tampa. And you could have, 4 intra-division games every day and 1 interleague game.
At a complex, days. I guess, at a complex where there are multiple fields?
No, wouldn't even necessarily. So let's look at in Phoenix, for example, you would have at least 1 game, probably 2 played at Chase Field. And then you would have 3 in spring training parks surrounding that, whether it's in San Francisco, whether it's at Camelback Ranch. Maybe they do home games because all the teams in the NL and AL West have spring training in Phoenix. So they would have their home parks that they can play in. In Dallas, you could have 1 team playing at the new Globe Life Park. You could have a game played at TCU. You could have a game played at Dallas Baptist. In my dream world, Rich, Jerry Jones opens up Jerry World, and we have baseball there. How freaking cool would that be to see a baseball game played at Jerry World?
I agree. Please.
I would love that.
No doubt about that. And it would, and somebody would have to sign a liability form when the ball hits the jumbotron. I mean, that if a punter can hit the bottom of that thing, a baseball can. I mean, that would make I guess what the catacombs or the rafters in Tampa, look like nothing.
Exactly. And I'm glad you bring up Tampa. You could play at Tropicana Field. The Blue Jays in Dunedin have their spring training facility.
Right.
The Phillies in Clearwater have theirs. The Yankees at Steinbrenner Field. You have Al Lang Field there. There are just enough possibilities to make those work.
Sure.
And you also could do 5 cities. You add Houston and Miami to the mix, and you have 6 teams in each place. Now, how you split those 6 teams up, that becomes a little more complicated because you're not sticking within the division. But at this point, it's like we can figure out those logistical things, and if they don't make sense, oh well. Nothing makes sense right now. Like literally nothing makes sense about the world these days. So why don't we just embrace that lack of sense and go on being happy with the fact that hopefully people are working to get baseball back on the field and do so in the safest manner possible.
And in terms of that, Jeff Passan, senior MLB insider, let's get a little bit more granular then. Because, let's just say the Yankees and the Red Sox do play a game in Tampa, right? It's not like they give Aaron Judge the key and he opens up and then, J.D. Martinez brings his bats for everybody. There's going to be a whole huge staff that has to operate the game and operate the facility. How many people is baseball ready to quarantine? How many people is baseball ready to put, in quarantine for a month?
Well, the big question, Rich, I think is not how many people are they willing to quarantine. It's are they going to quarantine? That right now is part of this. And I think the fact that they're looking at Arizona, Texas, and Florida is not by accident. There are going to be stay-at-home orders that are lifted, if not have already been lifted in each of those states. And the idea that they are going to be opened up, I think, appeals in some way to baseball, because I think the notion of quarantine in places away from their home was just a non-starter for too many players. And when you're trying, so they're just going to hold on a second.
So they're just going to roll a dice that that everybody's healthy walking in. I mean, like
no. Here's how it would work. I think in order to make this work, you're going to need to start with the spring training. I think the spring training is going to be spring training 2.0. I've been calling it. I think it's going to be at least 3 weeks. I thought it was going to be a little less, but players seem pretty gung-ho that they need 3+ weeks, especially pitchers, to ramp back up.
Uh-huh.
And during those 3 weeks, I think there's probably going to be a quarantine period there where players are going to get tested pretty consistently, where if anybody shows signs, he's going to be quarantined away from everybody else, and where you're essentially going to get your baseline right there. I think once they go to the pods, if that is in fact how they do it, it's probably going to be one of those situations where, yes, you stay at the hotel, yes, you go to the ballpark, but I don't think they're going to have anyone outside checking where players are going at night, for example. I don't think there are going to be severe restrictions in place. I think they're going to say to them, be smart. I think they're going to adhere to social distancing protocols, especially like you're not going to have guys hanging out in clubhouses for hours before games. You're going to have coaches, especially the ones who are in their 60s, or managers who are in their 60s or 70s, separated from players pretty significantly. Like they have to be judicious about something like that, because while the math tells us, and while the statistics tell us that the players who are 20 to 40 years old and typically in good shape and without pre-existing conditions, run a very low chance of having something really deeply affect them. The same can't be said for the older men who are going to be involved here and for the more vulnerable ones. And that is something you have to take into account.
I mean, Dusty Baker, he's 70 plus, right? I mean, so.
Yep, Joe Madden too.
What if a player says no? What if a player's like, what if honestly, what if Garrett Cole and his $300 million says I don't want to do it? And Clayton Kershaw, who's I could go Carlos Correa, who's a cancer survivor.
Yeah,
I mean, honestly,
I don't think it's going to happen with Garrett Cole. I don't think it's going to happen with Clayton Kershaw.
No, I just use somebody who's really famous and is well paid.
I know,
and necessary for a team to win.
It is bound to happen with someone, and I think that if a player is concerned about his health, then it is more than reasonable for him to say no. But I think the policy that's being enacted around the country right now is that if you're back to work, then you're expected to be at work. It's a really hard thing for workers, though, to hear that. And I don't envy the player who is going to have to fight to get his money if he tries to stay at home, and it may well end up being a losing battle.
So what do you think, Jeff? Time frame it for me, because if we're talking July 2nd, you're talking 3 weeks of spring training. You're talking about test. I mean, they're going to have to test, right? I mean, like,
oh my God, yes. The testing. The testing is a huge part of this. You can have everything in place, Rich. You can have a plan from the league. You can have support from the owners. You can have an agreement with the players. You can have facilities ready. You can have a schedule in place.
Right.
If you do not have testing, not just testing for the players, but enough testing throughout the country where if Major League Baseball is running through thousands of tests a week, maybe even more, that it doesn't look like they're being taken from those who really are in need of it. If you don't have that testing and that level of testing, the whole thing falls apart.
Jeff, I appreciate the time, man, from the conversation about Ricky, which was a wonderful, I guess, wormhole for us to go be pulled into. I mean, honestly, we can go for another half an hour about the possibilities of all this stuff, but it's going to have to be right now, right? Like literally mid-May, an announcement will have to be made, and then we're going. Right, to prepare and prep to get games by July 2nd?
I think
is that the time frame?
And let's put it this way. There will be an announcement. If something's happening, there's going to be an announcement in May. And if there is not an announcement in May, what we're looking at is a late-season World Cup-style tournament.
Okay. Thanks for the call, Jeff. You take care of yourself and your family. And I want that Rubik's Cube video. We'll put it on our social media feeds, please. If you're up for that,
I will do that. I'm gonna go bug him and see how fast he can solve it right now.
Well, no pressure, Jeff. I honestly don't want that. There's homeschooling involved. There's quarantining involved. Just I want to make sure everybody's fine in the Passan household. Okay.
No, I'm gonna be like the Whiplash instructor right now.
Not my tempo.
It's not my tempo. It's what you start screaming at him when he's trying to do the Rubik's Cube. You take care of yourself, Jeff. Father of the Year, Jeff Passan.
Right,
there you go, right there. Here on the Rich Eisen Show. By the way, how about him with Wojnarowski and Schefter together? Woj is, by the way, we have Woj on tomorrow's show as the NBA supposedly is telling teams it's okay to open your facilities up if you're in a city that says it's okay.
Right. Oh, competitive.
And then again, they're going to have to, if they're saying they're not quarantining and we're just going to let the guys be guys and just understand that you need to be smart, somebody's not going to be smart.
That is not a good
Somebody's not going to be smart. You know it. Somebody's going to go out and bring it in and blow. I mean, wow. That one kind of surprised me. Yeah, the quarantining, it's just kind of a non-starter. Well, guess what? I'm not coming in. Right?
Yeah. Not sure.
I wouldn't.
I mean, some players are coming off of serious illnesses like, beating cancer, leukemia. Carlos Carrasco. Right? Come on. Wow. That one kind of surprised me. And then you're going to have to, because to me, you're going to have to quarantine AAA players too to make sure that if they're called up, they're ready to be placed into your pod community.
And then what? Do you designate a few prospects in AA possibly?
I don't know.
Because we know AA guys get called up all the time.
I don't know. Or you're just not going to do that this year. Sorry. There's just no minor league ball. There's no.
Or what? Do you cancel the whole minor league season and then just have these guys ready with a huge roster?
I don't know. You basically have a huge roster of 50, 60 guys, yeah.
Yeah, like an NFL roster.
And you tell some guy who's been waiting all life for his chance in the show, quarantine. It may come. And then you've got like somebody who sits around in quarantine, never gets the call. You're like the Crash Davis of quarantining. Or you get the call and you never get and you get your one shot and you never get or you're the Moonlight Graham of quarantining. You're the Moonlight Graham of quarantining.
I was on last night. That's why I was going to say that.
Right? You've been sitting there.
Crash Davis of quarantine. Great fantasy name.
Is it Crash Davis of quarantine? You know what? I'm serious. Like, this is.
They got to quarantine him. There's no way.
But you're saying, again, what can you tell us? Come on. What can you tell us into a live microphone, Mike Del Tufo, who is involved in getting prepared for the possibility of broadcasting these games? Correct.
I got to see it. There's facilities that have multiple fields here. Like
in Los Angeles?
No, but in
the United
baseball,
States. Okay.
In the United States. Almost all of their spring training facilities have multiple fields.
See, that's
everywhere.
Yeah, that's the idea. Is that you've got to base. That's why I said complex.
They're all set up for broadcasting because they do the spring training games.
Yeah, right.
There's one place in Arizona that I sent you guys that has way more than enough fields for you to do multiple games per day.
Yeah.
Everybody would play.
And it would be like the first couple rounds of the U.S. Open. Let's go to Field 4. Let's go to Field 5.
Exactly.
It's like Court 18. Let's go check in on what's going on.
It'll be like when these guys were kids playing summer ball, where you're just on a random field. There's a little bleacher for 10 fans, and you're just banging them out. I'll tell you what,
if I'm a 65-year-old, 70-year-old first base coach or whatever, I'm masking up.
That's what I mean. Well, that's what I'm saying.
I'm going up to the first base. I'm a first base coach, and I'm trying to tell somebody, when they reach first, like, look for this, look for that. I'm masked up.
Like, the production staff can be far apart from each other. Camera operators are way far apart.
By the way,
umpires,
you can't. Umpires are right there.
They have to be.
They have to be. Just like the batter has to be right there too.
And then when you go to, like, you can't.
Would there be again? I'm being serious. I know this might come across as facetious, but I'm being deadly serious. Is there an argument box where the manager wants to talk to the umpire
with plexiglass
in between? Not a plexiglass, but it's like a box. Like they draw it in, and the manager cannot get closer than 6 feet and argue, and you can still say the magic word and get ejected.
Yep.
I'm serious. Honestly, baseball's the only game. Baseball is the only game where the coach / manager is allowed on the field of play to go face to face with the arbiter, nose to nose with the arbiter, and argue a call. The only sport. Imagine in football if Bill Belichick was allowed to run out to the middle of the field and go face to face with Tony Correnti to tell him he blew the call. They always have to call him over to the sideline, and it's up to the to the ref to give that moment to the coach.
Right.
Certainly, if they blew the call and they know it, they'll let the coach vent in their face, call him all sorts of names, and then pirouette and go. There's no technical foul in football. There is a 15-yard penalty, which I think is particularly more punitive than one free throw. But could you imagine, again, if Greg Popovich was allowed to run right up to the ref who just blew a whistle on his team face to face? Baseball, it's weird in the same way that you're allowed to fight in hockey.
Yeah.
Okay? That's understandable. Fight it out, boys. You know what I mean? Could you imagine if the NFL just basically said, fight it out, guys, and then we'll separate, and it's okay, and you just sit out a couple plays? Honestly, baseball allows its managers to go out of the dugout and yell
face to face
in the face of the person who just made a call that they disagree with. And if you don't say the magic word, it's fine. We're just. So that's what I'm saying.
The greatest clips are like you can see the spit coming off of the guy. And
will there be a socially distanced demand? We're still going to allow you the ability to come out of your dugout to argue a call. But, if you're going to tell the umpire that your players are savages, it has to be with at least 6 feet away of the umpire's face. I know it may sound like facetious, but these are things that need to be set up because a manager just feels it's okay to go right up to an umpire. Not yet. Not till we're all vaccinated. And by the way, wait till a player, and this is coming. Didn't Djokovic already say this in tennis? Wait till a player, because we're talking about what if a player doesn't want to play? Wait till a player doesn't want to get vaccinated. They'll be out of the sport. I'll tell you what.
It's coming.
If Djokovic wants to be number one in men's tennis, guess what? You're taking a needle. Otherwise, you can go play tennis with anybody else who doesn't want to be vaccinated for COVID-19. That is going to be a mandatory. That's going to be mandatory for entry into the sport. What we're talking about right now. Wait till that comes. That's coming down the road at some point.
And we're in a new world.
We are.
It's crazy.
Which is, I think, Passan's point of saying what anybody is suggesting, don't call it crazy. Don't say that's nuts. Just let's hear it out. Let's figure it out. And I'm looking at my phone to see if there's anybody that is actually, if he hasn't texted me, he has not texted me anything yet.
He's working on his kid.
With the Rubik's Cube. By the way, I would always pop
stickers.
No, not pop the stickers.
You pop it apart.
You pop the pieces off.
Yeah, and then
right from its stem in the middle.
No, it was easy.
It was quick.
You learned a way.
After a while, if you did it 1 or 2 or 3 times, it was easy to just pop out.
Rich knows.
First time, though, it was really difficult.
Yeah.
Second time, not so difficult. Third time, it was like butter.
And then you show your friends.
Through butter.
I did it.
And, hey, I did it.
I did it.
Oh, I did that all the time. And my brother saw through it. My dad, my mom saw through it.
I did it.
Okay, great.
They're like, Mike, there's no way you did that.
What a fraud.
So if you're cheating at something as simple and basic as Rubik's Cube, what else are you cheating
at?
It
is not a slippery slope.
No, I'm just saying.
I do not cheat at golf.
Gateway drug.
Oh, stop it.
No.
Stop it. It is not a window into my soul,
I couldn't do it. I'm not going to lie.
Well, you're only cheating yourself at that point.
In the same way my Uber rating is not a window into my soul. Okay? Stop it. Stop it.
I think we're starting to see a little correlation. New poll question.
Have we decided what our poll is right now?
Oh, it's up. It's up.
Oh, it's up, and is it good? Is it glorious?
It's who would you rather have for 2020? Andy Dalton, Jameis Winston.
Okay.
And you are in the Jameis camp?
Yeah, I'm in the Jameis camp.
Okay.
Dude.
I'm just saying. I mean,
dude,
you better put your thumb on the scale then, because you're losing.
Threw for 5 million yards last year.
He couldn't read a stop sign.
36.
He was lucky.
Touchdowns. I get that he was a turnover machine. They damn near still made the playoffs. The reason why they didn't make the playoffs, mostly in my belief, last year for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I'll save it. I'll save it.
I mean, hit the RT and put your thumb on that.
I will do it.
You're losing right now.
Okay. Monitor. There it is. 844-204-RICH. Oh, I'm getting direct messages from people that my stuff is being used all over the place and not getting credit.
Who else? Rich, let me tell you something right now.
No. I don't know. He could have verbally given credit, but it was just a full screen.
We
but
have
playing,
been hoodwinked,
playing
bamboozled,
sound bites,
led astray,
playing
run amok,
sound
and
bites,
flat out deceived.
Playing sound bites without even saying
with no courtesy.
Let's get them all. Let's hit them all now while we got the muscle.
Yeah,
isn't that just common courtesy?
At Frank Pantangeli, just direct message me.
I mean,
we've been in this business a long time. Just use whatever you want. Just throw up where you got it.
The question is, do I treat this like Spider? Because I'm being put on the pay no mind list.
Well, we know what happened to Spider.
Yeah,
I know.
Wasn't good.
What? I never dug a hole before.
Hope you got some lime.
Dance that drink over here. By the way, who turned out to be
Christopher.
Yeah, Christopher. He turned out to be Sopranos royalty.
Dance that clip over to me.
What's the matter with our profession?
It's not
if
hard.
If I'm using a soundbite from another show, I don't give a rat's ass.
By the way, we use a soundbite from Golic and Wingo this week.
I don't care.
We said where we got it from.
I don't care. I feel that if you like this show, you will seek it out. And you're not going to seek out somebody else's. And if you do, tout salud, enjoy it. I don't care if somebody else's soundbite. I don't care if it's Collins. I don't care if it's Rome's. I don't care whose it is. But one of the aforementioned people apparently played 2 soundbites, didn't say from the Rich Eisen show, and I'm like, what the hell is your malfunction? Come on. It's a courtesy for a reason. We call it a courtesy in the profession for a reason, because it is a courtesy. Do me a solid. That's going full circle. That's why you take in the show. As I say something 1 minute, 50 minutes later, I bring it back. It's a callback.
Rich, let me tell you something awesome about myself.
I don't know if it was him. I saw a full screen quote. They didn't use the sound. They used a quote, probably because they didn't want to give credit. I don't know. So when Mayock and Joe Staley and Deion Sanders and Matthew McConaughey make news coming up on our NBCSN broadcast, portion of this broadcast, I mean, common courtesy.
All right.
Rack him.
You keep going back to the Rome.
I mean, I don't have a voice for anybody else.
This profession, I tell you. All right. We're back with the NBCSN audience in a moment. Come on. How many planks do you have to break to be a black belt? How many do you have to? Is that an actual metric here?
I don't think there's a number, but I think it's when the pressure's on, when the tournaments happen, when the tests happen. Why? I'll break one right now if you need one.
Do we have one anywhere? Can we get a plank for this?
The hot take plank, but don't break
got the hot take plank.
Hot take plank. I mean, why not?
It's a 2x4. That's right.
What kind of wood is it?
Now you got me. I have no idea.
Let me see it.
Hold on.
Standard plywood, I'm guessing.
Get ready to cancel my show at Morongo tomorrow. I have a broken hand.
Sweatshirt. We haven't taken it off in years.
This would be amazing.
Here, feel
if
that.
You could break this.
Is that a proper?
I could break this. I haven't done this since I was 12.
Okay, do you want to give it a try if you think you can do it?
But this is what I learned at the House of Empty Hands in Newark, New Jersey.
Okay, very good. Here you go.
Did it break? Hold on.
If I hold it down, would that be better?
Yeah, that'd be good.
Chris, hold it on the other side.
Hold it on the side, Chris. All right, it's going. Pull it out a little bit more. So the end is on the box.
You don't even have any. You don't have any music from Karate Kid?
If he gets it, Gloria Love. I'll play Gloria Love.
Here we go.
Forget it. Damn it. I really thought I could do it, Rich. I really thought I could do it.
It's okay, Jeff. We still love you.
It's all right.
Green Bay's not going anywhere without Aaron Rodgers in the next few years.
This is the Rich Eisen Show.
Brett Favre here.
Available now on the Rich Eisen Show app.
I think that they burned a bridge that's going to be hard to overcome.
Earlier on the show, ESPN baseball insider Jeff Passan. Still to come, Las Vegas Raiders general manager Mike Mayock. Retired 49ers offensive lineman Joe Staley. Pro Football Hall of Famer Deion Sanders. Plus, Academy Award-winning actor Matthew McConaughey. And now, it's Rich Eisen.
All right, everybody. It is the Rich Eisen Show live from Los Angeles, California. We say hello to our friends on NBCSN every single day from 1 to 3 Eastern. They take the final 2 hours of the Rich Eisen Show that starts every day at 12 bells Eastern on Sirius XM Channel 211, as well as our YouTube stream, youtube.com/Rich Eisen Show. Chris Brockman, Mike Del Tufo, good to see you, my on-air producer and audio executive, respectively. Good to see you guys. Hey, look, a little bit of news. A little bit of news made by our country friend Brett Favre here on this program yesterday. And we'll talk about that with Deion Sanders when he joins us at the top of our final hour on this program. We have not one but two alliterative M's as guests. First up, Mike Mayock. Last up, Matthew McConaughey. Totally different. I would say polar opposites on the scale of pop culture. The general manager of your Las Vegas Raiders, longtime friend. He doesn't do shows like this very often, but not many shows like this are hosted by someone who goes so way back with Mike. Mike was the guy who called the Packers drafting Aaron Rodgers at 24th overall back in the day. He nailed that in his mock draft.
Sure did.
And a Babe Ruth type called shot in terms of evaluating talent in the NFL.
Not a myth.
Joe Staley, the all-pro offensive tackle of the San Francisco 49ers, who retired on the final day of the draft, leading to Trent Williams' acquisition. He will be joining us in the very end of our first hour, and then Deion will be joining us again at the top of our third hour. I just want to put a quick pin in the Favre stuff for a second, because it is a possibility that the next quarterback of the New England Patriots is popping free on the free agent market. Now, Chris Brockman, and I'll remind the NBCSN viewers who may not have seen this because we were not on NBCSN as of yet when Tom Brady signed with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yes.
What I said to you when he signed with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the rest of people of your ilk.
Fine folks from New England.
Yes. Who root for the New England Patriots, who maybe like yourself remember the times of those hard benches of the old Foxborough before Gillette had banners and things like backs of seats and things like that. Okay?
Yes.
I told you, welcome to the rest of us. Well, in terms of you remembering the old days, welcome back to the rest of us.
Right.
For all those millennials who only know championships and Brady and Belichick,
parades.
I said welcome to the rest of us.
No, times were dark.
Welcome to the rest of the National Football League. And to that, I add today's news that Andy Dalton is free or about to be free. Fly, be free, Andy Dalton. Thank you for the memories in Cincinnati. But we've got Joe Burrow. Joe Exotic, the Tiger King, is now here from LSU Tiger Nation.
I think it's official. He's been released.
All right, there you go. $17.7 million right off of the cap in Cincinnati. And now Dalton is free to sign with another team, like, say, New England, that has only
$1.7 million.
To use the Stuart Scott phrase, spandex thin, as he always used to say when he referred to something that wasn't very large. Spandex thin, $1.7 million in cap room, which is $600,000 more than what tomorrow's guest in this very slot, Jameis Winston, who will be joining us at the top of our NBCSN broadcast on Friday's show. Jameis Winston just signed for $1.1 million in New Orleans to back up Drew Brees. I understand. Guy threw for 5,000 yards last year. And I understand the turnovers galore, but this guy can wing it All right.
And now he can see.
He had the LASIK surgery, which I can't wait to ask him about tomorrow. $1.1 million he signs in New Orleans. Dalton, I know, has some leverage potentially because his former offensive coordinator is now the offensive coordinator in Jacksonville, and there's maybe a Jameis Winston, Jay Gruden marriage. So put it all together, and maybe he goes there. Maybe he's got leverage. He'll be too expensive for New England. But the mere fact that we are talking about Dalton as a possibility to quarterback the New England Patriots, and it is something that the Patriots should have to consider, and something that New England Patriots fans will have to do the mental gymnastics to embrace.
Yeah, I'm doing them right now.
Charlie Weiss was on this program a few weeks ago, said Dalton would be the perfect fit of all of the possible veteran free agent quarterbacks on the market. And now here it's a possibility, and the mental gymnastics that you and Patriot Nation will have to undergo brings back, once again, for me in this chair to say into this microphone, welcome to the rest of us in the National Football League.
Yeah, I don't like being with the rest of you guys.
Too bad!
I liked having number 12 back there.
Too bad.
This stinks.
On behalf of the other 31 fan bases, too bad.
Is this what you guys had to go through every offseason?
Yeah. Almost.
I mean,
sitting around wondering what the coach is thinking, what the front office is thinking.
How'd you guys survive?
I don't know. Well, welcome to the rest of us.
Yeah, I mean, I like Andy Dalton. He's got more career touchdown passes than Troy Aikman, Terry Bradshaw, and Joe Namath. More yards than a lot of Hall of Famers.
You didn't know that before today, did you? You looked that all up. You looked that all up because you knew I was potentially twitching in this direction.
Well, a little bit. Great player, first team all hair, a great human being. Okay,
he is, by the way.
Oh my gosh, he's amazing.
All hair and a great human being.
He's awesome.
I know. He'd be a perfect person to put in the New England area as a face front member. And look at what he's doing with his beautiful children.
I mean, throwing dimes.
He's ready. He's ready.
In the backyard.
That's to Julian Edelman.
And I'll tell you what.
Hold on a minute. This one, nice snap. This one's to N'Keal Harry. And then this one. All right. Yes. This one is to Jacoby Myers. I'm running out of guys.
Yeah.
All right, because I think you are too.
No, we didn't draft anybody.
This one, this is James White out of the backfield.
Okay. Yeah, you know what? Don't want him.
This one's to whatever tight end's filling in for Gronk.
I'll tell you what.
Whoever that guy is. Welcome to the rest of us, Chris. Andy Dalton. Not a bad idea. Last 20 years, Andy Dalton. Andy Dalton. Don't even, I know he was a second-round pick. You can't even throw him in the same sentence as Jimmy Garoppolo. Andy Dalton, not a bad idea.
Yeah.
Welcome to the rest of us, Chris. On behalf of the rest of the NFL fan bases, let me represent.
I think at this point, I mean, Tom Curran said it was going to come, and I think I've reached it. I've talked myself into just rolling with Stidham this year.
I think that might happen.
Like, I think we just give him a shot, see what this year brings.
Right.
And if it's a disaster,
Understood.
then it's a disaster. Start over. If he's decent, if they go 8-8, 9-7, you bring him back in 21 and we'll do it again. I can't believe I'm at that point.
You are. I mean, it's delightful. It really is just delightful. Seriously, everybody around this country that I'm giving voice to, seeing all those duck boat parades and with the Red Sox and the Celtics and even the Bruins.
Yeah, Rich, there were 12.
And I'm assuming the New England Revolution.
12 parades in
I'm sure
18 years. It's fine.
What does Nike the dog think of Andy Dalton?
Nike the dog.
What does Nike the dog think?
Let's get down to it.
Here's a little treat for Nike the dog.
He's calling the shots.
Here's a little snack him.
He's calling the shots.
Here's a little Dalton treat.
Nike
filled with all sorts of nutrients. There he is.
Here's Nike the dog.
He's evaluating the film. There it is. Nike the dog. Even Nike the dog won't tell you. That's how tight the circle is there in New England. Nike the dog. That's a poker face. We have no idea. He could be looking at film of Stidham. He could be looking at film of Dalton. We have no idea. Welcome to the rest of us. Honestly, on behalf of the other 31 NFL fan bases.
Wish I could say I was happy to be here.
So good.
This is so good that I mean, we made NFL news around the world here yesterday when Brett Favre called in, and I haven't even hit it because I'm enjoying this moment so much. I'd rather do this than take a victory lap for this show. And there's an I in Rich and Eisen. And Nike, there it is right there. What do you think? What do you think? I mean, Burrow's going to mean they're going to release him in a week, right?
What should we do?
Take this treat if you think it's Dalton.
What Bill should do is he should put 2 bowls of food down, one labeled Dalton, one labeled Stidham, and just let him decide.
That's right. And a hydrant for Hoyer?
With all due respect to Brian
I shouldn't
Hoyer.
do that. Honestly, I'm doing this for the gag. I'm doing this to just get under his skin. Okay?
Well, it's working.
I mean, this is so good.
Oh, baby.
Stidham, please be good, man. Like, just please be good.
Jameis
That's
is
all
gone,
I
man.
ask.
Jameis is gone. Jameis is gone. And we'll be talking with Jameis at this point again tomorrow. I look forward to chatting with him. Jameis is gone. I don't think Cam Newton's walking through that door.
No, probably not. I'd be okay with that. But.
Mike Mayock will be joining us shortly. Before I do that, let's talk about Brett Favre a little bit here. Brett Favre had a lot to say yesterday. We caught him a day after he played a little bit of golf. And he let us know, on no uncertain terms, that the Jordan Love pick surprised him and that he had spoken to Rodgers and was going to keep most of it, if you will, all of it quiet, with the exception that he termed Rodgers a little bit surprised by it. Said that he feels that this will rear its ugly head at some point. He even thought it might happen this year if the Packers start slowly, if there's a season, knock on wood if you're with me. He also did say yesterday that he thinks he's going to end his career elsewhere, just like Favre. And I didn't even have to finish the question. Brett beat me to that punch. It's a difficult question, but I'm going to ask it. Certainly more difficult to answer since it looks into the future. It's the old crystal ball, and you even said yourself.
I think he'll play somewhere else.
You do. You cut me off. You think he will not end his career as a Green Bay Packer just like you?
My gut tells me no. I think Aaron will finish somewhere else. I guarantee you this, and I don't know this for certain, but I guarantee you it's got the wheels turning in Aaron's mind, which if that's the case, then that means that there's a chip on his shoulder towards the organization that otherwise was not there. And so all he needs is a reason other than this reason to expedite that.
That's what Brett Favre had to say. And for those listening on Sirius XM Channel 211, it did say courtesy of the Rich Eisen show on the screen, which some others on this profession aren't doing. It's called a courtesy for a reason.
The mothership got it right.
They did.
Yeah.
At any rate, I will say this. David Bakhtiari, the man who's paid to protect Aaron Rodgers, was in the Draft-a-thon live draft room with me and final hour guest Deion Sanders when this pick was made, when the trade up for Jordan Love was made. And his reaction was the same as Favre's by saying there's a chip on Aaron's shoulder, but look out, that's when he plays his best. Favre, having been through this before, obviously on the other end, having to be pushed, but he has been through this before on the end that Rodgers is on the other end then. Now Rodgers is on his end now, and he knows that this means the end is near, and he knows how he felt back in the day and how Rodgers feels now, and it just sort of sounds like he knows exactly how Rodgers is feeling now because they had a conversation about it. And he knows what this means. And what it means is at some point down the road, even though, again, Favre did say, play that soundbite, Mike. He did say that this was going to come home to roost potentially this year.
From a relationship standpoint, it sends the wrong message. And I think when adversity hits this year, 0-3, couple bad games or whatever, that it's going to rear its ugly head, and the daggers are going to be out.
Worst he's ever started Aaron Rodgers is what, Chris? He's never started 0-3, right?
Never started 0-3. He started 1-2 in 3 straight years, 2012 to 2014.
Okay. So it's been a while since he's even started sub 500
yes.
through 3 games. I don't see it this year, but Brett is potentially a little bit more conversant in the Wisconsin and Green Bay Packer nation, in Cheesehead Nation, than I am. But what I pointed out to Brett after that, and he did agree with, is that at some point, 2 years down the road, 3 years down the road, the Packers are going to want to know what Jordan Love is, who Jordan Love is, for a couple reasons. One, will they be able to flip him like Garoppolo? Can Aaron Rodgers turn Love into Garoppolo by playing like Brady did after Garoppolo was acquired? And there was a lot of conversation, certainly in the moving on to Cincinnati years, about maybe moving on to Garoppolo. And I do remember that Super Bowl being 28-3 in favor of Atlanta. I looked down at my Twitter feed and all my texts from New England fans saying, where's Garoppolo? Brady's toast. Well, we all know what happened the rest of that day, and then obviously the rest of Brady's tenure with New England. So the Packers will either have to know, is he Garoppolo? Can we flip him for a 2? Can we show him off to the rest of the NFL community where we can at least get a 2 for our 1? Or when are we going to pick up his 5th-year option? Do we know it? Let's just say some teams have the ability to evaluate players before the 5th-year option gets picked up, like, say, today's Kansas City Chiefs move, which you could have etched in stone, used a Sharpie years ago that they were going to pick up the 5th-year option of Patrick Mahomes, which became official today.
Probably after Game 1, 2018.
Right. Yeah, right. Or after his start when he wet his beak a little bit.
Before, yeah.
In his rookie season in Week 17 in Denver. They're going to have to figure that out. Clock's starting now. There's no doubt about it. And Favre knows exactly what's going on, which is why I think that was news yesterday, is because we all feel it and sense it. And the Packers have opened this Pandora's box. The question is, does Love have the ability to get through all this, the mental toughness that Rodgers did, and become like Rodgers, or he's been compared physically to Mahomes? If that happens, then all this conversation will have just been that conversation. If not, then it is absolutely what my English teacher used to call a harbinger, a sign of things to come. That's why, obviously, Favre made news here yesterday, because everybody senses what he has to say is the Emmis truth, that Rodgers might finish somewhere else. He finished my sentence for me. Favre didn't let me even finish the question. He knew it was coming. And he also said that it's not Rodgers' job to mentor Jordan Love, which I will play that soundbite for Deion Sanders later, and I know that is directly in Deion's wheelhouse. Kind of like a Lee Guterman lefty-to-lefty pitch back in spring training that he raked for a triple. Right in Deion's hot zone. That'll be later on when he also precedes Matthew McConaughey. But coming up next, one of the newsmakers, because he makes the picks for the Los Angeles Raiders, my buddy Mike Mayock, live on NBCSN and more. How you doing over there, Christopher? You all right?
Yeah, I'm great.
You should be great. You got all those trophies in the case.
Bill's still on it.
Bill you trust,
still
right,
got
brother?
Bill.
Like I said before, this is the ultimate in Bill we trust moment.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean.
And I think we all do in New England. I think I speak for everyone in the 5 states. And we're going to let it rock. Let's see what happens. Like I said, it's going to be Stidham. So
I don't know, man.
He's going to have to, learn by fire.
That window has to be what? Inches by inches, right?
I would say no bigger than 12 by 12, maybe 12 by 8.
And that is a good 10 yards away.
All right.
Look at those beautiful kiddos. Look at this, man.
Rip it.
I mean, oof.
You could do so much worse.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
he's a real deal, bona fide quarterback in the NFL.
We could do worse. One of the guys is on the roster.
And I know,
be real.
And I know that I might have come across looking like I'm slagging on Andy Dalton. I'm not. I'm slagging on you.
Right.
I just want that to be understood.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, I understand.
I'm not slagging on Andy Dalton.
No.
I think he's He's more than a solid quarterback.
He hasn't won, but he's been to the playoff four times.
For a team that nobody thinks ever wins. Look at what he did. And if you think that it's just the
Andy Dalton has
the gravitational
winning
force
record.
Right. And if you think it's just the gravitational force of Bengal, he did that in the gravitational force pulling in the other way. His games in prime time, though, were always difficult to watch,
Not good.
And that's a very liberal, very generous way to put it. That's a generous way to put it.
From 2012 to 2015, he won 10 games each year, 11 in 2013. He threw for more than 4,000 yards and 30 touchdowns. I mean, he's a good player.
But again, the reason why I bring it up is that you in New England spent, from high atop Mount Brady, high atop Mount Pius, I guess to use the Damashek phrase, high atop the Mount Patriot, look down upon the Andy Daltons of the world. Down your nose and down everything.
We look down on everyone.
I understand. That's why I'm saying welcome to the rest of us now. On behalf of all 31 other fan bases.
Man, if the Pats go 12-4 this year, it's going to be I will be.
Why not?
I will be terrible to be around if that happens. Just heads up. Just a heads up. If the Pats go 12-4, just get ready.
It'll be even better.
Oh, God. What a great way to end this segment. We're back in just 20 seconds with Mike Mayock. Back on the Rich Eisen Show on NBCSN, Sirius XM Channel 211, YouTube.com/Rich Eisen Show. Our phone number is 844-204-RICH. That is the number to dial. I love this man. I had so many great years that I cherish sitting at the other end of a set or through a two-way talk on NFL Network. He is now the general manager of the Las Vegas Raiders. He is my buddy Mike Mayock. How are you, Michael?
Coach Eisen, how you doing, man?
I'm fine. How's everybody in the family? Everybody healthy? Everybody good? Everything, knock on wood?
Yeah, knock on wood. Everybody's good. How about you guys?
Same here. Family's good, and the show family here, we're all healthy and safe and socially distant enough to come here to work every day and do this. So, I appreciate you calling in today. So I guess first order of business is, how was this draft, Mike? I mean, how was it for you to conduct it? It was so obviously out of the ordinary.
Yeah, I mean, it obviously there were challenges out there for all 32 teams, and that's all that really mattered. And to our organization was that we're all on equal footing, and I think that was important. And so starting from the time where we had to leave the facilities all the way through the draft itself, we put a lot of pressure on our IT people, our analytics people, our video people. And I thought everybody just rose to the occasion. We got the work done that was necessary to evaluate. And then I thought draft weekend went off without a hitch. And you start talking about how many people were remote and how many connections had to be made. And it just, I thought, I didn't see a whole lot of it on television, but what I was told was everything went seamlessly, and, we got through it, and I think every team felt really good about it, Rich.
Well, I spoke to two of your colleagues this week already, and Howie Roseman in Philly and John Elway yesterday in Denver, and both of them seemed to think that it did take a while for everyone to get used to it. And Howie in particular said he thought that there were fewer trades maybe Thursday and Friday because people were still kind of getting used to it. Elway said at one point it was difficult to have a private conversation. He kind of had to step away from Zooming and all of that stuff. And that Saturday is when things felt a little bit normal. Would you agree with that assessment?
You know what? Thursday night we were on the phone a lot, and I don't really believe the technology or the remoteness of the situation affected us at all. And I'll tell you, for 5 or 6 straight nights prior to the draft, we were practicing. We were Zooming. We had our trade guys in different parts of the country. We had our scouts calling in and trying to overwhelm our phone lines just to make sure we could handle both the phone lines and the video lines. And it worked out pretty well. So there could. I think the one thing, Rich, is you kind of felt like once you got to a certain point left on the clock, you had to hurry because it wasn't like everybody was in the same room together. If you're trying to make a trade and you were down to about 2.5 minutes, 3 minutes, you were trying to get it done because you still had to facilitate to go through the trade line to the NFL. You had to call the kid that you were trading for or drafting. There was a lot going on that typically would happen a lot easier, but I feel like the reality of it went off without a hitch.
And then I also just, from our years together, I knew that everything's an evaluation for you. How would you evaluate Gruden's handling of the IT? Because a lot of people thought he might be the guy who talks into his mouse and not, figure that stuff out. How was Gruden in your evaluation, Mike?
John was great, man. We had fun. I mean, we're two dinosaurs.
That's
and,
right.
we're now about an hour apart, and we're, at first, the week before, John was like, I don't want to be on that Zoom thing. I want to be on a phone with you, Mike, and then you do all the Zoom stuff. And then we had a couple practice mock drafts that went off without a hitch. And he was like, yeah, that's not too bad. That was kind of cool. And, John gets to the point and he starts to embrace it, and then he's really funny. So it went well.
That's good, because I guess Caliendo could have just stepped in at any point in time,
I heard he did, apparently, right?
No doubt about that. Mike Mayock here on the Rich Eisen Show. Let's get into the evaluation. We had, again, Elway on yesterday. He said that the Broncos ran several mock drafts, and not a single one of their mock drafts had Ruggs being taken by you. Why did you choose Ruggs out of all the wide receivers at your disposal, potentially?
Well, there was that quote, that group of the top three wideouts that everybody wanted to talk about, Judy, Ruggs, and CeeDee Lamb, and we loved all three of them. And I felt like John and our staff could take advantage of the distinctive talents of all three because they were very different. And at the end of the day, I think the pure speed of Henry Ruggs is kind of what changed things for us. And I think we felt like we've been bereft of speed, both vertically and horizontally. And when you get a guy like Ruggs, not only are you getting the vertical threat, the deep overs, the post routes, you're also kind of getting those manufactured touches, the horizontal ones, the jet sweeps, the bubble screens. When I talked to Nick Saban and he told me he approaches every day like he's a walk-on, his work ethic is off the charts. He was a gunner and a jammer on special teams. So we felt like we got in one body, we got a potential kick returner, we got a gunner jammer, we got a guy to stretch the field vertically, and I think even more important than all of that, Rich, because, again, I think John could have used all three of those wideouts to their highest degree of excellency. But what changed it for us is we felt like that element of speed would make Josh Jacobs better, would make Darren Waller better, would make everything underneath better, and effectively make our whole offense better.
Well, I mean, man, you kept hammering that wide receiver position as well when you used two of your 3 third-round selections on Lynn Bowden Jr. and Brian Edwards of Kentucky and South Carolina, respectively. Why did you feel the need to keep hitting that same position, Mike?
Well, the reality is for us, Lynn Bowden's going to play running back. And he at Kentucky, it was kind of cool because his junior year, he caught close to 70 passes in the SEC, was one of the top slot receivers in the country. And then his senior year, the quarterback got hurt, and they moved him to quarterback. And he rushed for 1,300 yards in the SEC as a running quarterback / wildcat guy. So we kind of envision Lynn Bowden as first and foremost primarily a running back. As he learns how to pass protect and do all the different jobs demanded of him by that position, I think the cool thing about him, Rich, is he becomes what John calls a joker, an ability to play running back, slot, wide. We can use him. We can line him up in the wildcat in the red zone. So we envision Lynn Bowden doing a variety of jobs for us, but primarily he'll be a running back. And then Brian Edwards, to us, we had him with a high second-round grade, and he was sitting there at 81 and just couldn't pass up on that. And he's a big-bodied, tough guy, the all-time leading pass receiver at South Carolina. He started over 40 games in the SEC. So we were kind of blown away both by his productivity and his consistency in the best conference in the country.
Well, I guess that seems like that was a a facet about this draft with the wide receivers, Mike Mayock, by the way, of the Las Vegas Raiders here on the Rich Eisen Show, is that you are getting guys in rounds with grades much higher than what you were getting them. Would you agree in terms of everything, the years that we were working together to this year, deepest wide receiver draft, period, or no?
I think every team in the league went into it knowing that there was quality at the top and depth throughout. And, I think typically the average was 12 or 13 wideouts have gone in the first 3 rounds over the last 5 years. And I think 12 went in the first 2 rounds, which set a record in the modern draft. So certainly every team in the league felt like that was the case. Rich, there were guys in the 4th and 5th round that I was salivating over that were that were wideouts that typically would be 3rd round guys. So yeah, that position this year we thought had the best quality up top and the depth throughout.
And let me just circle back briefly to your second first-round selection, the last of the Khalil Mack first-rounders that Gruden placed in your expert hands to turn into human beings. Damon Arnett. Now, part of the conversation about Arnett leading in and on draft night as well was his tape in the biggest game of the year against Clemson did not suit him very well. I'm sure you saw a similar tape and maybe thought a different thing about this young man, or saw somebody who fought through a difficult night on occasion. What did you see on his film?
What we saw was in 35 starts at Ohio State, we thought he was the most competitive cornerback in this draft, as far as a guy that showed up every week, competed, tackled. He can play inside, he can play outside, he can play the right side, he can play the left side. He played most of this season with a cast on his arm. We thought that what we're looking for, Rich, when John and I sit in a room by ourselves and we talk about what are we trying to construct here, and we talk about competitive, tough guys that come to work every day because they love it, not just because they're getting paid for it, and that's Damon Arnett. So to us, when you're in our division and you're playing the Chiefs twice a year, you mentioned John Elway. They drafted wideouts, they drafted tight ends.
Sure did.
Everybody's trying to get faster and more dynamic to compete with the Chiefs. So in our division, you better line up, you better be fast, you better be competitive, you better be tough, and you better not flinch. And we don't think this kid will flinch.
All right, in a few minutes I have left with you, let me hit you on some 2020 questions. And we hope for a full season, to use the phrase of your head coach. Knock on wood if you're with me. We're all knocking wood on that. How's Abram? Is he ready to roll? Is he ready to go? Kid?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we almost feel like we got another first-round pick here. He played 1 game last year, hurt the shoulder. He's 100%. I talk to him all the time, and he is fired up and ready to go.
Okay. Last time we spoke was at the Combine. I tried to walk through the side door, rear entry door, whatever you want to try and get you to talk about Tom Brady. You sniffed that out a mile away and moved in a different direction. So now here I am knocking on the door about the Mariota acquisition for you, and how, everything that's old is new again. We're seeing how Rodgers is in the role of a Favre, and I spoke to Brett about that yesterday. And people are thinking maybe Mariota could be in the role of Tannehill, with Derek Carr in the role of Mariota going into this season. How would you handle that as a narrative, Mike?
First and foremost, Derek Carr is our quarterback, and John and I love what he did last year, and he completed 70% of his passes, and he had a great quarterback rating. And do we think he can get better? Sure. Year 3 in Gruden's offense, we expect him to get better. But when you're looking at a guy like Mariota, the cool thing for John and I when we had the Mariota conversation is, remember, Rich, we were both in television in Mariota's draft year, John and I. So if you're Marcus Mariota and you want to know what Mike Mayock or John Gruden think of you, yes, all you really got to do is go back and check.
Check the tape. The tape, just like you.
Check the tape. They turned the tables on the evaluator. Now they're evaluating John and I, and it's really kind of cool because we had some great conversations with Marcus about that. He knows we believe in both Marcus Mariota, the person, more importantly, and Marcus Mariota, the football player. And I think we've got to rebuild him a little bit. He was beat up. He had to get some surgery after the season. You got to clean up some technique from the ground up. I think John's the right guy for that. And we just could not resist adding that kind of talent to our quarterback room.
Well, I guess that is the question du jour as well, because that's what I talked about with Harry Roseman the other day, is that when you choose somebody, and Packers are having that conversation, my Lord, are they having that conversation right now, when you've got an already installed quarterback, a veteran, somebody who is associated with this team, somebody who's well paid to be associated with that team, and then you have another quarterback, it's your job as general manager to fill out a roster and make sure that that position's taken care of should that quarterback not be able to make the snap or falter. And I guess that's the question, Mike, is how do you view the role of quarterback number 2 in your job?
Well, we believe that where we are as an offense right now is we ought to be very competitive offensively. We ran the ball really well. We've got a big, strong offensive line. We augmented the receiver position in the draft and free agency. We feel like we should be a big, strong, powerful, tough, and more dynamic team this year. And I think our job, John and mine, is to ensure that if something were to happen to Dirk, that we continue to be that same team. And we think Marcus gives us the best opportunity to do just that.
All right, Mike, I appreciate the time. And I tried to get your home draft set up from you. Many of your colleagues complied. You were the only one that took a shot from outside the window. And that's all I got. Can you at least describe? And then you're like, I know what you meant. By the way, I'm putting that text up on the screen right now. When I called you out, I know what you meant with 4 dots. What'd you have in there? Can you at least describe it?
Rich, there were 2 reasons there. Number one was that I'm in a little dining room in a rented Alameda house that I have 5 whiteboards surrounding me with close to 1,000 magnets. And if I had taken a shot anywhere in that room, you would have seen a whiteboard with a bunch of names on it. Yeah. And then I just figured I'd have some fun with the play on words and give you my view.
Did you see? Did you at least see Belichick's? Did you see his Nantucket setup? Did you at least see that on ESPN, Mike?
I think I did, and I was happy for Bill. Man, all he had was a laptop on a table. It looked like to me,
and a dog, and his dog, Nike the dog, who's feeding treats.
Look. He's a much smarter guy than I am. I need thousands of pieces of paper, and Bill's amazing, and as you know, how much respect I have for him.
I know. So you're old school. You're like Post-its and whiteboards and grease boards and magnets. You're just I shouldn't be surprised. You always had that like 3rd grade Scholastic black and white charcoal notebook that you brought with all your notes sitting next to me.
Oh, I had it was the Our Lady of Lourdes marble notebook, and that's why my left-handed. Yeah, my left-handed scratched because I used to have to take because I'm left-handed, and you had to go through the 3-hole binder thing, and then it looks like a claw when you're writing. But that was Our Lady of Lourdes, and I brought it with me. And the funny thing is, Rich, and you'll see this as your kids get older.
Yes,
is that my kids crushed me for those books that I carry around and take notes in. And now I look at both of them as grown adults, and they both carry around the same things in their bags.
Look at that. That you pay it forward, Mike. That's the way it works. Thanks for the time, Mike. You take care of yourself. Stay healthy, okay? And we'll chat soon.
Same to you and your family. Thanks, Rich.
Right back at you. That's Mike Mayock, my buddy.
One of a kind.
Las Vegas Raiders.
One of a kind.
Las Vegas Raiders.
Still not weird saying that.
I know.
It's going to take a while.
I miss so much working with Mike, and I love Daniel Jeremiah, but Daniel doesn't give me what Mike gave me.
Mike was funny. Mike was great.
Well, DJ,
which is the stare. I don't get the stare.
But DJ gets too much. He knows too much about pop culture.
No, that's
and
nothing
things.
to do with it. It's just the stare. Even when I might say something that he disagrees with, in an evaluation, just getting the stare from Mike would just stop me in my tracks. And for the first few years, I would just, as the host and trying to keep everything moving, I would just not acknowledge it, and I would just keep going. But after a while, I would return fire. And I realized that fed Mike. That fed him. That it never offended him. It fed him.
Yes.
It spoke to his inner Philly.
Yep.
And that's when people would start tweeting, you guys don't like each other. You guys, oh my God, that was really you guys just argued on television. I'm like, no. That's a New Yorker and that's a Philly guy getting together, actually, and getting along, quite honestly. But I still don't miss the stare though.
Did you just call DJ SoCal soft?
No. He's solid. He's SoCal solid.
Okay.
Joe Staley is going to join us next. We're staying in the Bay Area, although I think Joe's calling in from Southern California, where I guess that's where guys retire, to Southern California. Joe Staley, and your phone calls when we come back. I didn't even walk through the Brady door with him.
Yeah, he wouldn't give you anything anyway.
No. I don't even think. I bet. Did you think they even kicked the tires on Tom?
No.
I don't even know if they did.
Why sign Marcus Mariota if you're thinking about Tom?
Because Tom already told him I'm not coming to Las Vegas.
Yeah, that's what I mean. If you're thinking about Tom Brady, you're not signing Mariota.
It seems the only left coast team he would consider playing for would have been San Francisco.
San Francisco.
Yeah, his hometown team.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, man.
Tell you what, man.
Mariota's going to get. I mean, they both loved him coming out of college. They both did.
I mean, are they going to do a Taysom Hill situations, you think, with Mariota and Carr?
I don't think so.
So he's strictly the backup.
I mean, you just heard how this kid, Lynn Bowden's going to be kind of a jack of all trades.
Yeah, he did it all at Kentucky.
Right.
Yeah, he's a good
So
player.
you heard how they're going to do. They're going to work that offense. I think he's going to be the wild card in that.
Wildcat.
10, and the 10 yards and in.
Right.
I just hope, again, 10 yards and in. Derek Carr, do not
dive for the
pylon. Just don't dive for the pylon anymore, because you don't want to do it ananymore. We don't want to see you do it anymore, and people don't want to hear me complain anymore about
that
the
rule is never getting overturned.
Yes, it is.
Can we make like a 5-year wager on this?
5-year wager. What do you want? $20 a year?
Yeah, compounded
wager.
Right.
That's going to get changed.
In 5, no way.
Yes, it will.
Rich is.
You have heard Al Riveron explain, and Dean Blandino, why it won't never get changed.
Excuse me. You're looking at a guy who got the tuck rule changed.
Yeah,
the tuck rule was. I mean, I know it benefited us, but it was dumb.
I heard from Mike Pereira saying the tuck rule wasn't going anywhere.
Yeah.
And I kept hammering away at it whenever I had a shot of him on NFL Network and NFL Total Access. And I'm not saying he had enough juice to just getting it overturned, thus giving me that. But I'm going to say I definitely kept it alive in the heads of enough people that they finally saw the light. That the idea of taking a ball from a passing position and bringing it down into a non-passing stance has nothing to do with an incomplete pass. It has to do with the intention of no longer passing. All coming off of a Raiders talk. Sorry, Raiders. We're back in a second. So we just chatted with Mike Mayock, the general manager of the Las Vegas Raiders, Deion Sanders and Matthew McConaughey, the Pro Football Hall of Famer and Academy Award winner, respectively. Those are our third-hour guests. So we turn to the phone lines right here, and if you're on hold, stay on hold at 844-204-RICH. We will take your calls before the end of this hour. The freshly retired Pro Bowl, All-Pro offensive lineman of your defending NFC champion San Francisco 49ers, Joe Staley, calling into the program. How are you, Joe?
I'm doing well. How are you guys doing?
I'm fine. So are you already overeating? I mean, how quickly does somebody go from playing to retiring, basically, in the NFL?
They actually do the opposite. I'm pretty quickly getting into the weight loss.
What do you mean?
Realm.
So you're going,
oh, man.
You're going the other direction. You're going Joe Thomas?
Yeah,
Are you going Joe Thomas on me right now?
Yeah, I think every offensive lineman's dream as they're playing football and you start playing for a long time is just like how much you miss being able to be at a healthy, normal weight and trying to lose pounds. And I'm right now on that weight loss journey. So I am shedding right now. I'm just shedding. I'm very into Peloton right now.
So really,
everybody is probably right now.
So what's your Peloton name in case somebody goes in the room and they see what your name is?
I am Chip Chip74JS.
Okay.
And that is Chip for the Chippewas for my Central Michigan. So I wanted to make a name that was inconspicuous because I don't want people to, But now I've told everybody,
so I mean,
they can race me on there.
So if they see what's your Peloton name again? Chip, what is it?
Chip.
Yes.
74JS.
Okay, so Chip for Chippewa, 74 your uniform name, and JS for Joe Staley. There it is.
Yep, that's me.
We just cracked the code.
Cracked the code.
Oh,
yeah, I'm just. I've had it for about 30 days now.
Okay,
so,
there you go.
Very into it.
Very good.
Get on the bike.
Why did you decide to hang him up, Joe?
I just was a time for me and a good decision for me and the family. I was this last year. It was pretty documented. I missed the most games that I had missed in my whole career last year with the broken leg and the finger, but that I had surgery on. And then I had this thing in my neck that I was kind of dealing with towards the end of the year, and it kind of gradually got worse and worse. And then once the Super Bowl was happening, and kind of came to a head during that game, and then so I realized I was going to have to talk to a lot of doctors after the season was done. And then once I did, I got a bunch of different opinions, and it just wasn't really favorable. So I kind of just weighed everything and decided that the time was now. But set the deadline of the the draft to make a final decision, because that was really important to me. The Niners were in a good position to kind of move forward, and that wasn't going to be screwing them over or anything with my decision. So really excited that they were able to land Trent. Pretty seamless transition there.
My gosh,
they got.
I know, and that's I guess my question to you is how much heads up did you give the 49ers so they could get in that in the hunt for Trent Williams?
Yeah, so it was they knew everything was going on, and I was talking to doctors, and they were involved in that whole entire process and everything. But as far as like an actual 100% decision, this is what's going to happen. I told John and Kyle basically the week before the draft. I was like, hey, I'll have a decision for you 100% then. So I think they were making contingency plans. I don't want to speak for them, but I knew that they were probably doing feelers out there and stuff and getting stuff rolling on that front. And then once I told them, they kind of moved forward and were able to get the deal done.
Joe Staley, right here on the Rich Eisen Show, fresh off his retirement from the National Football League. So the guys you played with, who do you think of from your career that you think stands out, Joe?
There's so many that I was able to play with in memories. But, the guys I always come back to thinking about is just Frank Gore, number one in my list, just because of the impact that, I think he knows now, because I've made a point of telling him over the years about how much of an impact that he had on my career, just watching him when I was coming in as a rookie. He was fresh off a 1,600-yard rushing season. He was the man at the franchise. And just seeing the way that he worked every single day just kind of like set the example of what a pro athlete and an NFL player is, and how you got to act and behave to make what you want to make out of your career. And so he had a huge impact on them. We became, really close friends, and, still the same way today. Just getting to practice against Justin Smith every day just made me such a better player. Him and Alden at the same time. I was kind of entering my prime of my career there, and being able to go against those guys every single day in practice just made me so much better. And then just, a bunch of different players that you just get to meet over the years, and compete against, and, big moments, and, also just being able to go to a Pro Bowl and see all the guys that you just looked up to your whole entire life, and meeting them and being around their families. There's a ton of great memories.
Well, I think Frank Gore is a Hall of Famer, Joe. I don't think there's any question about it. Yeah, you didn't even stutter right there. What do you mean, what he taught you? Because, again, there's a lot of people who think Frank isn't that impactful because he's just been around for so long. That's his most impactful thing that he's done in his career is that his longevity. But I'd love to give you the floor and what that means to you.
I think part of that is because of Frank's personality. I think Frank is never going to be a guy that's going to, puff his own chest out and give himself publicity. He's a guy that just kind of goes to work every single day And that is part of it, getting your name out there and being a guy that people talk about all the time. And he's an under the radar guy. And, I think just his longevity, I think that's not something to be held against him. I think that's something to be celebrated, because at that position, it is incredibly hard to be year in and year out consistent. And I think that was what I learned the most from him, is like what it takes to be a consistent football player, and not just someone that has 2-3 good years, but to be a Hall of Fame player your whole entire career. You have to work a certain way. And seeing him be on the field an hour before practice started, going through an intense workout every single day, whether it's getting ready for a playoff game or if it was in, the middle of May, he took every single day super serious. He made a point of learning every single aspect of our offense that we were running, not just what he was doing and what his responsibilities were, but, how was the guard attacking this 3 technique? What's the center's calls on his pass protections? He left no stone unturned, and I think that was, just something that stuck with me forever, is that it's not just about what you're doing, it's about what the whole entire team's doing, and how can we get better from that aspect. And before I let you go, Joe, tell me a good Jimmy G story about why you think he's the man for the future here. So much conversation about the postseason and how much running was done, and obviously how successful that was. And it was done because Jimmy G wasn't as effective throwing it. That was at least a narrative, and certainly the Super Bowl, where there was a play that to be made potentially towards the end of the game that was a possible game winner. So his effectiveness is front and center for a lot of conversation. I'd love to give you the floor here. Yeah, Jimmy's been nothing but unbelievable since the day he got in there. He worked incredibly hard to learn the entire offense. He was put in a position where he was kind of looked at as like, hey, you're going to be the savior of our franchise right now, because, we need you to step in. And, he came in, won 5 games, and then the season we had last year was an unbelievable ride, and he was a huge part of the reason why we were in the position we were, why we got a first-round bye. He completely won multiple games during that regular season for us just by his own, arm and, the playmaking ability. As far as the playoff games goes, that's just what we felt like going into the games was, we were in attack. Especially the Packer game, those guys off the edge. If you just give them the opportunity, we're going to throw the ball 30, 40 times in the game. It's really hard to, kind of hold up the entire course of the game. So he felt the best plan of attack, and it was working. I think it's you go in with the plan of attack and you adjust. Kyle's really good at that. But it was working. We were gaining explosive plays left and right. And so, it wasn't a position where we had to control the clock and squeak out 20, 21 points a game. We were able to score a ton of points, and is what got us to the Super Bowl. And then, in the Super Bowl, I think, Jimmy would like to have some of those plays back. We all would like to have some of those plays back, and that's what happens when you lose a game. You don't look back finally on it. So I know it's going to be a huge motivating factor for him our off season, and he's going to be really good coming up. Joe, thanks for joining. What's next for you other than Peloton riding and hanging with the family? Peloton riding, losing weight, and just enjoying time down here in San Diego. So just enjoying time with the family, and hopefully seeing some friends sometime soon. So getting a little stir crazy here at the house. But I bet. Doing my part. Well, if you ever want to talk some ball, you want to get in the paparazzi, if that's the method you want to go for your, if you want to go full Joe Thomas, just give me a call, and I'd love to have you on here and talk some ball with you anytime. I'm always trying to catch Joe Thomas, man. He's been a guy my whole entire career. I'm always like one step behind him. So, hopefully I can gain him on the weight loss, and then I can try to, figure out how he's so good at every single thing he does. Okay. I think, what is he? Is he badge 73 JT on Peloton? Is that what he is? Nice. Is that what he is? Oh, is that what he is? No, I don't know. I'm just making We'll have a little personal conversation. Take care of yourself, Joe Staley. We'll chat with you soon. All right. Thank you. You got it. That's Joe Staley, fresh retiree. The Geico phone line is brought to you by our friends at Geico, which makes it easy to bundle your homeowners or renters insurance along with your auto policy. It's a good thing, too, because you already have so much to do around your house, don't you? Go to geico.com, get a quote, and see how much you could save. It's Geico easy. Visit geico.com today. That's geico.com. And you can get our podcast every single day, Podcast One,
at podcast1.com/Rich Eisen. Let's sneak in a quick call here. Paul in New York City. Let's take you. I've got about a minute for you, Paul. What's going on?
Is this me, Paul? I'm Troy, New York, upstate New York.
Okay, what do you got?
I am just shocked that I haven't heard one reporter or commentator comment on Mike Mayock's claim after the draft that they didn't feel the need to draft in the 5th, 6th, and 7th rounds because of COVID-19. Those players wouldn't have been able to make that team. Did I miss something? In the Raiders are the defending Super Bowl champions. Do they have the deepest roster in the league? Here's what I can guarantee Mike Mayock.
Okay.
There are going to be teams that are more successful than them next year that are going to have 5th, 6th, and 7th round players on their team contributing to their teams.
Well,
I am shocked that no one called him on that.
Well,
that's an outrageous statement to make, that 5th, 6th, and 7th rounders can't make your team. The Raiders have been a dumpster fire for 18 years. This guy is a second-year GM, and he's claiming that 5th, 6th, and 7th rounders. And didn't he just tell you that he was salivating for a 5th-round receiver?
Well, here's the deal.
Draft, he told us that 5th, and 7th rounders can't make our team.
Well, here's the one thing I could tell you, Paul, okay? And thank you for the call. Appreciate it. One thing I could tell you is Mike Mayock respects anybody who makes a team at any point, at any time, 5th, 6th, 7th rounders. So, if he thinks that these players couldn't make his team right now, and he can go up and he can get somebody in the 4th round as opposed to waiting around 5th, 6th, and 7th, guy knows what he's doing. I mean, again, Max Crosby, Hunter Renfrow, Jonathan Abram, Josh Jacobs, Cleveland Farrell. Let's see what he does with this draft class. He's already helped turn things around enough where they were in the mix last year. I would trust Mike, is all I'm going to say to Paul. I know they've been a dumpster fire for 18 years, but Mike's only been there for 1. Deion Sanders and Matthew McConaughey and you, hour 3 coming up.
Told a story about the genesis of All Right.
Yes.
All Right.
Here's where that comes from. So, Dazed and Confused.
Yes. Genius film.
I'm in the right bar at the right time. Mm-hmm. And a guy goes, hey, you ever done any acting? You might be right, just right for this part. Legendary casting director and producer Don Phillips. I come back, and they do what's called a makeup and wardrobe test, meaning they're shooting another scene one night. I'm just going to show up. Director's going to step off the set and come and look and go, great. I approve. Well, he comes and looks. He goes, geez, this is Wooderson. It's great. He goes, listen, you're not scheduled to work tonight, but we're over here at the Top Notch drive-thru, and you think Wooderson might want to pick up on the redheaded intellectual, Jake? And I'm like, sure. And he goes, want to shoot it? I'm like, sure. So I go get in the car, about to shoot my first scene ever in a film.
Of your career?
Of my career. And I had been listening to a lot of 70s rock and roll at that time. And there was a certain live recording of a Jim Morrison concert in like Amsterdam or somewhere where he barks at the crowd, all right, all right, all right, all right, 4 times real aggressively though. I'm not thinking about that, but this comes back. So I'm in the car and I'm like, who's my man? I'm nervous. I'm about to hear act. Who's my man? Who's Wooderson? I said, well, I'm about my car. And I go, well, I'm in my 70 Chevelle. Yes. There's one. Mm-hmm. I said, I'm about getting high. I said, well, Slater's riding shotgun. You know he's got a Dubois rolled up. There's 2. I said, and I'm about rock and roll. And I said, well, I got Nugent, Stranglehold in the 8-track, man. There's 3, and I hear action. And I look up, and in my mind, I go, and I'm about chicks. I got 3 out of 4. Let's go get the 4th. All right, all right, all right. Wow. That was it. So first words I ever said on screen.
Green Bay's not going anywhere without Aaron Rodgers in the next few years.
This is the Rich Eisen Show.
Brett Favre here.
Available now on the Rich Eisen Show app.
I think that they burned a bridge that's going to be hard to overcome.
Earlier on the show, ESPN baseball insider Jeff Passan, Las Vegas Raiders general manager Mike Mayock, retired 49ers offensive lineman Joe Staley. Coming up, Pro Football Hall of Famer Deion Sanders, plus Academy Award-winning actor Matthew McConaughey. And now, it's Rich Eisen.
Final hour of this edition of the Rich Eisen Show. Great chat with Mike Mayock and Joe Staley. In our previous hour, Matthew McConaughey, the Academy Award-winning actor who is in a PSA that launched on Tuesday that is aimed towards the Spanish-speaking population to have them either stay at home or wear a mask when they go out and about. In that PSA, with Matthew McConaughey speaking fluent Spanish, Canelo Alvarez, by the way. So Matthew McConaughey will join us in about 20 minutes' time to have that very conversation. On this program yesterday at this very time, we were getting set for Brett Favre, who kind of blew the roof off this sucker, to use that phrase, when he was very honest about being surprised with the drafting of Jordan Love, said that characterized Aaron Rodgers as being a little bit surprised himself, did say that this was going to rear its ugly head, that did believe that the Packers had burned a bridge with Rodgers, who he did go out and say, in his estimation, won't finish with the Packers. That was his take on everything. Also, as we're getting set for my friend Deion Sanders to join us in just a second, I want to play this soundbite from Brett because it kind of echoed what Deion said in the NFL Draft-a-thon live draft room the night that this all happened, the moment that this all happened. This echoes exactly what Deion Sanders, my co-host in the first night of that Draft-a-thon live, had to say. Here's what Brett had to say about Aaron's role in bringing Jordan Love aboard and along.
It's not his job to mentor Jordan Love. And this discussion went on, when I left Green Bay. It's not the head guy's job to mentor the next guy. That guy is ultimately there to take your spot. Now, if Jordan were to ask Aaron, can I watch extra film with you? I would be shocked if Aaron said no. I think he would go over and beyond to help, but he's not going to go out of his way, and I can't blame him.
That's how we set up my Hall of Fame friend and compadre, colleague, my friend, Hall of Famer, Deion Sanders. How are you, Prime?
Humbleness. Love you, man. Appreciate you.
I love you too, Deion.
With you. The draft-a-thon was unbelievable. I'm upset that we weren't seen on television, which we should have with the star-studded cast we had.
Yes. Although I got to
tell you, I playing Starsky and Hutch on the night.
I got to tell you, Deion, the way that started, I did forward to NFL Network Brass, and they might be working on it right now, that the first 45 minutes of that Draft-a-thon live was a television show where it was you, me, and Kevin Hart to start, and then Michael Strahan joined, and then Bob Kraft joined. He went off to the Patriots draft when Russell Wilson joined in from what appeared to be a party bus parked outside his home. Then Brady joined. Then DJ Khaled joined in what looked like a rubber room that he was sitting in.
He was killing the game in his movie theater. Unbelievable.
I know. And then Travis Kelce. That was a TV show, Deion.
But let me tell you the problem with that.
Okay.
See, when someone calls you and say, hey, man, we need you to do this draft-a-thon with Rich Eisen and Prime. Okay, I got 10 minutes. All right. That's all they sign up for. Then the problem is when they get on, we have such a good time. They didn't want to get off. Then you got a Brady coming on, and somebody's supposed to leave. Then you got another guy coming on, Russell Wilson. Someone's supposed to leave, and they never want to leave. So now we got 100 people trying to get a word in edgewise. And you and I try to play good host to let everybody get an opportunity to dribble the ball.
Right.
Yeah.
That's we got to distribute.
It was unbelievable.
That was great. And Brady
we got to distribute.
Brady was busting Russell's stones about. He asked him if Ciara kicked him out of the house to do the conversation. That was funny.
It was hilarious.
I know.
Everybody's sense of humor came alive, and I mean, Kevin Hart and Strahan, man. They started off. We just was at each other's throat. It was unbelievable.
And
it really was. I'm thanking Rich. We're stumbling up on something really spectacular that could be continued around our country and not just go back to normal when we have the opportunity to go back to normal. I think we've exposed ourselves to some phenomenal ways to communicate with the fans and to bring them closer to us.
No doubt about it. Deion Sanders here on the Rich Eisen Show. And NFL.com, there's still the archive of all 3 nights of NFL Draft-a-thon Live if you want to check that out. Brett Favre was part of our first night, too. And then timing, I guess, is everything. He was done about a half an hour before Jordan Love gets drafted by the Packers. What did you make of that, Deion?
I like it. You got to understand, man, you got a quarterback that's getting ready to tongue kiss 40 in a few years. And you think it's absurd to finally start thinking about a replacement? This is the only position that is an insult. So why is that? Is this the most selfish, inconsiderate, obnoxious position there is? We drafted Bruce Pickens, I believe, the year after I came. I believe so. It may be 2 years, but he was the 3rd pick overall. I was the 5th. So he got actually drafted higher than me. It was my responsibility, I felt, to get him ready to play. The argument is, well, you got 2 corners. You need 2. You only have 1 quarterback. Yeah, but the better we are as a team, the better everyone is. The team that wins the Super Bowl or goes to the 3rd or 4th round or 3rd round of the playoffs, that's the team that get all the Pro Bowlers. It's not that they're that darn good. It's that seemingly everybody is really good because you won. It's his job to get the next guy ready, I believe. That's what our game consists of. Coaches in the NFL do a wonderful job directing traffic, calling plays, putting together the game plan. But players coach players. Ask any player. They learn from players, not from coaches. When you get to the NFL at that level, you're supposed to know your job, man. You're supposed to know what you got to do. It's up to prepare you to go beyond that.
Well, the reason why, and that's why I love having you on, Deion, and you expect it from me. The reason why it's different between, your position and the quarterback position is, Pickens and you could play on the field at the same time, technically. Jordan Love and Aaron Rodgers cannot, and Jordan Love is not going to do a single thing to try and make this team any better to win a Super Bowl next year, unless, of course, he gets in and because Rodgers is hurt and keeps the team afloat in a manner in which a rookie's not expected. That's the difference, Prime.
Yeah, but if I'm helping Bruce Pickens, who's the cornerback, who's a 3rd pick overall, sooner or later, don't you think his contract is going to be up if he's balling out and they're going to make a choice between one or the other because they can't keep 2 at the enormity of the salaries? Mm. So, let me tell you something, man. And I said this when I was doing Lil Wayne's podcast. A dog is not threatened by a cat. And I want you people out there listening to really understand what I'm saying. A dog is not threatened by a cat. Rich, you've had some of your dearest friends. You've had your wife. You've had some darn right out communicators host your show when you're going on leave.
Including you.
Do you worry about them taking your show? Did you worry about us taking your show? No, because you're a dog, Rich. You don't worry about a cat because your gift is your gift. We always talk about team until it comes down to us. So are we really a team or we're a bunch of individuals playing a team sport?
Well, I guess you didn't teach Pickens all that well. He had 2 career interceptions, Deion.
Well, you could hey, I could put the fishing rod in his hand. I can't teach him how to fish. I can take it to the lake and put it right there at the point where we see the fish. I can't teach him. and show him how to catch it. I taught him everything I could.
So Rodgers, in your estimation, should that's a good one. So in your estimation, Rodgers should be just fine, all chill, not a big deal, just go and ball out. Well, and by all accounts, with the exception of Favre saying he was a little surprised by this, that's what Rodgers has done, is welcome the kid and gone to work.
He's supposed to.
Right.
If you're the leader, what's the C on your chest? What does the C on your chest mean? I thought it was captain.
Right.
Not coward. Not coveting. No, man. You got to help that next man. That's what team is all about. That's what it's all about, man.
So then what
Favre didn't even play my position. I thought it was my responsibility because I saw a gift and I saw something tremendous in that kid when he came to Atlanta. It was my responsibility, man, to stay after, work with him, talk to him about life, try our best to do what was good for him and every player that I played with. That's what we're supposed to do.
So what's Rodgers?
That's what Jim Nance did for me.
Okay.
That's what you did for me at the network. A dog ain't threatened by a cat, man.
So what should but a dog should want some more bones around him? I mean, what'd you make of the non-drafting of wide receivers for the rest of the draft, though? I mean, that they
were 13-3. They were 13-3. Like, how much of a need is there? Like, come on, man. Like, what was the real, true need for the future? They're probably thinking, you know what? We got everything we need right now to get to do this again, to win our division. We could add Antonio Brown down the street. We could add a free agent receiver down the street because we don't need a rookie with Aaron Rodgers. What is a rookie going to contribute with Aaron Rodgers? I mean, most of these big-time quarterbacks, they don't want rookies. They want proven guys that know how to play the game, know how to handle themselves. They want proven guys that's going to be where they need to be when the time has come. I don't think he wants to tutor another rookie on how to run routes and where to be and all that. I don't think he wants that responsibility. He wants to drop back and let it go. And if he could get a lineman, if he could get the defensive help, they can either go to their needs. I don't know if their immediate needs was that.
Well, the immediate need wasn't Jordan Love, I guess, to bring it full circle, Deion. That's the point, too.
Well, the immediate need wasn't him either when they drafted him with Brett there. That wasn't immediate need. It all turned out well, didn't it?
Deion Sanders here on the Rich Eisen Show. All right, before I let you go, Deion, what was going on with Gurley? What the hell happened there? What happened there? Did you don't care him wearing number two? What happened there?
I'm gonna give you the whole story.
Go ahead.
Carissa Thompson called me.
Yes.
And she said, Prime, I'm getting ready to go interview Gurley. He's wearing your number. Can you send me a video of about that? I said, cool, no problem. So I sat on my porch with them, sitting there right now.
Yep.
I said, Todd, look here, man. That's a lot of pressure, man, in that 21. If I was you, I wouldn't do it. That's a lot of pressure. Hey, man, I think you should let that thing rest. And I love Todd Gurley. The whole thing, I wish they would have played it in its entirety. It was a really hilarious video. You know how I am, comical, and that's what it was. And I think when he made the statement, Prime was hating, he was joking as well. And they took it to the left, man. And they should have just stayed right. They know darn well I don't give a darn about no number. I made the number. The number didn't make me. It's been several Falcons that have worn 21. Even our own NFL Network's D'Angelo Hall. So I was, I'm elated.
And a dog's not afraid of any.
I love that kid. Man.
And a dog's not afraid of it, right? A dog's not afraid of his legacy being worn by cats.
Ain't afraid of a cat. Never.
They should retire your number anyway, Deion. They should retire it.
Yeah, but I only gave him 5 great years. That's all.
Okay.
I only gave him 5, so I understand.
All right, and I'm going to ask you the last question for my son Cooper, who you know. He said, what's with Uncle Deion's beard, quote unquote? He said that to me last night. So I will just ask that point blank. What's with the beard?
Please tell Cooper, my whole life is really a quarantine. I'm sitting out here looking at the lake right now talking to you, Richard. Just got finished working out.
Right.
Getting ready to eat lunch with my kids. Probably going to do a little fishing right after I eat lunch.
Mm-hmm.
I'm country prime right now, man. I don't have really too many television responsibilities.
Right.
I do. I'm at the age and stage where I don't care what people think about me. I feel like I look great with my greatness. But it's just a setup. Because when I come back in this world, this country goes back to normal, I'm going to look so darn young. It's going to be like I'm a new guy. I might change the nickname. Young Prime. I may go with Young Prime.
So this is
like Young Jeezy.
Yes, right, who we spoke to the other night. So
I love him.
So the beard is basically another version of the hair on top that you're going to be another comeback player of the year, a 2-time comeback player of the year.
Yeah. I won comeback player of the year back to back, and you wouldn't understand how many calls I've gotten to try to duplicate what I've done. But my hair is a whole nother breed. They don't understand how my hair can come back so lovely. But I don't know. I just give all the credit to God, Rich. My hair, I really do.
You're trying to pull me over to that side, Deion. I know you are. I know you're still trying to pull me over.
Oh man!
Come on, Prime.
Rich.
Yeah.
It's documented that white hair makes a better comeback than black hair. I'm telling you.
Where is that documented? Where's the paperwork? Where's the study? I don't know what you're talking about. What do you mean?
Documented. I talked to the Surgeon General. I just talked to him yesterday. He told me that. He told me to make sure I tell you that.
All right, Prom. Enjoy fishing and lunch and your family. I love you. Thanks for the call.
All right. Love your humbleness. Tell everybody there I said hi. You got the best darn staff. Truly, you live in the Bible. When they say that rod and that staff, they comfort me, you got some people that'll comfort you, man. I love those people. Everybody back there.
They feel the same way. Thanks, Prime.
Love you, Prime. See you, bud.
That's Deion Sanders. He's laughing here.
I mean,
white hair.
I don't know. Scientifically, I don't know if that checks out.
I don't know.
Yeah,
his beard is all white hair right now. It's all white.
Sanders claws.
And he's going to shave it, and he's going to come back. I mean, it's always
2-time comeback player
him.
of the year. Yeah, right.
There's always a plan. All right. Matthew McConaughey when we come back here on the Rich Eisen Show. If you're on hold, stay on hold. Your phone calls after that. So Prime taking the opposite approach. That Aaron Rodgers shouldn't be afraid of this kid. He should just welcome him in there and go ball out and not be, and that they were 13-3. He doesn't need the help. That the help that he got, his help that he needed, is the help that he received.
And he should be teaching Jordan Love how to play.
And that he was the same person for Favre that Love is for him. And so we have heard polar opposite opinions for you here on this show. Yesterday, Brett Favre saying this is not going to end well, and Deion saying, make of it what you need. Correct? Is that essentially what Deion had to say? And also, by the way, had totally forgotten that they drafted another corner even higher than him, kid from Nebraska who had 2 career interceptions.
Yeah, 2 years later, 3rd overall pick, Bruce Pickett.
And he's supposed to welcome him in and coach him up.
It didn't work out.
Oh, I love Deion Sanders.
So good.
He and Kevin Hart together at the top of that NFL draft-a-thon.
It was great.
It was my job. You guys, ladies, have to seek it out, NFL.com. It's still sitting out there. It was my job to just let it go.
It was so good.
And just be quiet and let the two of them go at it with each other. Because the first thing, Kevin Hart went right at Deion for his beard, and Deion was also sitting, as you could see at the top there, Deion sitting in some sort of velvet throne. And you could see behind him, those were his initials. DJS were behind him.
Rich, that was so good.
And it was funny, when we had Blake Shelton on later on, they were making fun of him that it was one of those voice chairs that turns.
That turns, yes.
That it looks like one of those chairs that turn.
DLS.
DLS? Is that what it is? DLS?
Yeah.
They were.
What's his middle name?
Lewin.
Lewin. That's right.
L-U-W-I-N.
Yeah,
that room was epic.
And then DJ Khaled wearing a white T-shirt with that room. It's a padded room.
Yeah.
but it's padded because it's his home theater.
It was so fun.
But it looked like a padded room. They were all giving him grief. Like, are you, and where are you right now?
And who was the one that
And then he turned the camera. He goes, I'm in my, so it looked like he was in a padded room. And he's like, it's my home theater. He turns the camera, and it's just like, gorgeous.
And then who told Kelsey, hey, we know what team you're on. Take the Chiefs hat off.
Kevin Hart.
Yeah.
Kevin Hart blasted every single human being that walked in that room.
Yeah,
the minute they zoomed into that room. And again, it was my job to say nothing.
So fun.
That was
or to have fun. And I did the one time I did actually enter the fray was to defend Russell Wilson when Brady accused him of being evicted by Ciara because he was sitting in some party van. And I'm like, it doesn't matter. I'm like, don't worry, Russell. Tom doesn't even know what house he's in.
I mean,
he has no idea what house he just strolled into.
That was
because that was a day after he strolled into the wrong house, and that made a big to-do.
Won't be penalized for that, by the way.
The great Matthew McConaughey when we come back here on the Rich Eisen Show in about 20 seconds. Welcome back to the Rich Eisen Show. 844-204-RICH is the number to dial. If you're on hold, stay on hold. We will take your phone calls before the end of this show and before the end of this hour. Before we get to his phone call, I want to play the public service announcement that he is in. It is a public service announcement that hit the airwaves on Tuesday, and it's targeted towards the Spanish-speaking population of this great country. And it's Matthew McConaughey and Canelo Alvarez in Spanish telling everybody if they can to stay at home, and if they can't, please wear a mask. Check it out.
Buenos días, tardes y noches. Aquí Matthew McConaughey con un mensaje para todos. Por favor, si vas a salir de casa, asegúrate de usar mascarilla. Por favor. Tengo un amigo, un campeón, que también tiene un mensaje para ti.
Hola amigos, les habla su amigo Saúl El Canelo Álvarez, solamente para recordarles que estamos en una gran batalla contra el coronavirus. Hay que vencerlos juntos. ¿Cómo? Quedándote en casa lo más que puedas, y si tienes que salir, ponerte una máscara o ponerte una bandana. Recuerda que hay que cuidar a nuestras familias, a nuestros amigos y vencer este coronavirus. Vamos a hacerlo todos juntos.
Yo uso uno para cuidarte a ti.
¿Tú usas una para protegerme a mí?
Cuando todos la usamos, todos juntos nos cuidamos. Muchas gracias y solo sigue viviendo.
Just keep living, indeed, right there. And joining us right now, the Academy Award-winning actor Matthew McConaughey back here on the Rich Eisen Show. How are you, Matthew?
Muchas gracias. Solo sigue viviendo. I'm doing good, Rich. I'm sitting in my own throne with my initials over my head as well right now.
Well, Deion is sitting in the state of Texas. I mean, like that's the way I guess everybody from the state of Texas runs, right? That's sort of the throne. Unbelievable. Deion is one of a kind. Hey, man, this PSA is a beautiful thing. How did it come about?
Yeah, man. So, me like everybody, sitting at home for the last 5 weeks, and I'm sitting there trying to say, hey, what's the message that needs to get out and when? And, I mean, a month ago, it was clear we need to stay home. And then about 2.5 weeks ago, it became very clear we need to wear masks. So I put out this thing in English and played this character, Bobby Bandito. You can call me Bobby B, about wearing bandanas. And then the mayor of our city, Austin, said, look, the Hispanic community is not getting the message to wear the mask. So I did some research, town and state and United States and worldwide, and noticed that was happening all over the world, that Spanish-speaking communities weren't getting the message. So I said, who would they listen to? Well, they might listen to me speaking my broken Spanish, but I need to find somebody else that can speak it better than me that they would look up to. And so I met Canelo years ago at the Golden Gloves event, called him, and he said he was in. I wrote it, directed him over text, and that's what we got.
No kidding. Okay. By the way, again, I'm not fluent. It doesn't sound broken to me. It sounds like you're pretty fluent in the language there.
Yeah, I was kind of being kind of falsely modest, wasn't I?
I do like it. So is that a one take situation with you in Spanish?
That's a one take sit down. Canelo, it was 2 takes for Canelo because he was in San Diego, and I had to talk to his cameraman who was holding his iPhone over there just about some framing. But other than that, Canelo was 1 take as well.
So you are directing him from, like, you're live, you're sitting there, you say, okay, move this over, move that over, and Canelo Alvarez just stuck the landing and then you got a PSA.
He stuck it. Absolutely stuck it. Yeah. So hopefully that message gets out. It was fun to do, and there we go. Found another place to put "Just Keep Living," but did it in Spanish. Solo sigue viviendo.
And we're seeing right now on the screen a mask that says "Just Keep Living" as well.
Yeah, across my face.
Yeah, exactly. And then the J.K. Livin Foundation, jklivinfoundation.org, founded by you and Camila. So to date, you're providing meals and also laptops because, again, the number of kids who depend on meals through school, and obviously homeschooling for some is not simple at all because they don't have the equipment in order to connect to schools. So I'm wondering how you got involved in that, Matthew.
Well, I mean, a lot of the students that we serve through our foundation are in these Title I schools, and a lot of them are depending on some of them 2 meals a day from the school. I mean, that was 2 of their 3 meals a day they were getting from the school. So now they can't go to school. They were missing 2 meals. So we're providing as many meals to them and their families as we can. And then the other thing, a lot of them, now that they're out of school, they want to continue learning, but they don't have the means to. They didn't have a laptop or they didn't have a hotspot. So we started working up some funds and got some laptops out and got them some hotspots where they didn't have them.
jklivinfoundation.org to get involved in that and help out or see some more. And then the All-In Challenge. I'm seeing so much about that. You're involved in that too, right, Matthew?
Yeah. That's another thing about feeding the people that need it, right now. I've got I'm putting up a game day experience down here in Austin, Texas, in Darrell K. Royal Memorial Stadium once this college football season kicks off.
Right.
Who wants to come to A-Town here, spend the day with me and my family, go to a game, Longhorn game. We got you tailgating pregame. We got you during the game in the box. Come on down the field and the sidelines so we can get a bird's eye view or a man's eye view of the game in front of us, and we'll have a great time.
Now, what are you like during a game, Matthew? Are you how intense are you into the action? So people who are going to be bidding on this know what they're getting into here.
Yeah, know this. If anyone's bidding, and if you want to take any pictures or talk about movies or anything other than what's happening on the field, that's why we're going to get there early. We'll get there and get that done because once the kickoff starts, I'm breaking a sweat. I'm into it. I'm not a great conversation about anything other than the game while the game's happening.
So it's game time, not time as a flat circle. That's the conversation, essentially.
That's
what you're saying.
It's game time, baby. That's right. Over and over and over for about 3.5 hours. It's game time.
So that's the Minister of Culture talking, essentially, not the Academy Award-winning actor Matthew McConaughey talking, is what you're saying.
Oh, 100%. It would not be good culture doing a Longhorn football game as a Longhorn fan to be having your mind or mouth elsewhere other than on the game.
Pretty much. So in terms of that, man, oh man, I can't. Obviously, the virus has its own schedule, and that's what we're talking about here with your PSA. And again, jklivinfoundation.org and your All-In Challenge. But man, that first game when it happens, I mean, and I know again, you're a minister of culture. You don't take this stuff for granted, but maybe we all have. I can't wait what that will be like. That's going to be insane. That first game.
It is going to be. I mean, collectively, man, especially in the United States. I mean, for football, for our American football, it is going to be collective. The day will be remembered on many calendars for the rest of many lives when our first game comes back. And then the question is, what are we going to? It's all in the air. You may know more than I do, but.
Right.
When are we going to play games? There's going to be some sort of fans. I mean, they will be televised. Are we going to have games where 100,000 capacity stadiums are only taking as many fans that can sit 6 feet apart? Right. I don't know. Are they going to provide masks? What are those going to look like? Obviously, collegiately, they got to sell tickets, and everyone wants the games to go on. But I don't know. I mean, we're all up in the air on that right now. Are they going to play without fans but then televise it? Or are we going to find something here in the next few months where we go, we got the vaccine, we're clear, let's roll?
That would be obviously the best option. I think it'll probably be without fans, Matthew, to start. But you're not wrong. And if baseball starts first, apparently, no fans, but the dugout will be, the players won't be in the dugout. They'll be in the stands 6 feet apart. Like they're literally talking about this. Like it's all up in the air, essentially.
Hey, we are calling audibles.
Yes, we are.
At the line of scrimmage on all of this. Look, no one wants to play without fans, but it's still a game. The game can still be played. What do you lose? You besides losing the chance of being there as a player in whatever associated game, the competition's still there. The rules are still the same. You no longer have a home field advantage or a deficit for playing away. But I think that would be worthy too. Go play the game. You're gonna talk about people watching. Whoever's got the rights to the games,
right.
that network's happy.
No doubt about that. And the few minutes I have left with you, let's talk a little bit of professional football. I'm sure so many people, Matthew, who equate you clearly and for good reason with Texas football. When they start assuming you're a Cowboys fan, what's the looks that you get when you reveal that you actually root for the Washington Redskins? What is that? What is that moment
at
like?
At least one closed eye when their cheek raises up and they're like, "What?" And then they go, "How the hell did that happen?" And I always tell that story I told you. I said, well, when you're 4 years old watching Westerns with your dad, and you find yourself rooting for the Indians versus the Cowboys, and then when your favorite food's hamburgers, and you got a middle linebacker, number 55, who's now in the Hall of Fame, called Chris Hamburger. When you're 4 years old, man, that's already 2 for 2. And then I will say this: at 8 years old, I was in Texas Stadium, made the 3-hour drive from Longview, Texas, to what was the Cowboys used to play in Texas Stadium. You know this. A lot of people may not, before AT&T.
That's right.
And the Redskin game, I show up. I'm on the sideline at 8 years old, painted burgundy, shirtless, shoeless, with a headdress on and a chamois. Remember the chamois you dry your car with?
Sure.
I had a chamois roped around my waist.
Like a loincloth chamois? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, a loincloth chamois. And I remember I thought I could go naked just like the Indian, like I was saying the Indians would. My mom said, "No, you got to wear your BVDs, man. You got to wear some underwear under there." Now, the Redskin games, that was the only reason I could stay up past 8:30 at night if the Redskins played on Monday Night Football. It was the reason I'd get in trouble in church, because church would go to 12:30, and I'd have to sneak out in the car, put on Pat Summerall calling the game when Dallas was playing the Redskins on the AM radio.
Oh, yeah.
And I just took the penalty. I said, "You can ground me. I'm skipping church."
You took the penalty. You took the penalty. That's a And I assume that was a 15-yarder, Matthew. I'm sure that was
I got to stay in the game, but we went backwards. Yes.
Well,
15, personal foul.
Man. Did you ever get to an RFK game? Did you ever get to a game in RFK? Did you ever go to
Hell
one?
yeah. I was at the last game at RFK, the first game at Jack Kent Cook, and the first game at FedEx Field. I have a mason jar with burgundy soil that I went down on the field in the last game of RFK and pulled up a 12-inch by 12-inch chunk and ran off the field with it. Yeah, I mean, I didn't just because I've been a Redskins fan for a long time.
So what do you think of the current state? I mean, Chase Young was the second overall pick in the draft that went down last week. And Ron Rivera is the new head coach there. What do you think, Matthew?
Well, look, I like where we're heading. We've needed to get our compass corrected here for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And the word culture is thrown around a lot. Like, what's your culture? What's your culture? And everybody, could look over the past however many years and say, wow, look at, New England's the pinnacle of that, of how they run that system. No matter who you are individually, you're coming into Belichick's system, how they run that organization. We've needed to get our compass right. Ron Rivera, I love the hire. I love his mindset. I love how he is changing the culture. I believe Dan Snyder's really found a position now to say, look, I'm the owner. Now I'm going to truly back off and let the person I hired do the job the right way. We got to change. We've needed to make a change, and I think we're really now on our way. We used to be one of the great dynasties, in a championship dynasty. And mind you, there's so few dynasties now. But this is a chance for us to get back in that conversation. It's not going to happen immediately either, I don't think. I think we are now saying, hey, we're going to build a dynasty again. And hail Redskins.
Matthew, HTTR, as they say, right? Hey.
HTTR, baby.
Hashtag. Matthew, always enjoy our chats. I love the PSA. Again, people can check it out, certainly on jklivingfoundation.org, where you can learn more about the meals and the laptops that Matthew and his wife are making sure that kids are equipped with. Your All-In Challenge, where you can go hang out at a game, but talk only about movies and TV before. Pre-game. That's a pre-game conversation. Halftime. That's fine. I always enjoy our chats, Matthew. You're one of a kind.
I do too, Rich. You're a pro. I appreciate it. And thanks for all y'all doing. You and your wife at St. Jude's and stuff too.
Oh, I appreciate that. And your team are all pros. My wife and I are friends with Shannon Rotenberg, and your team that is always great with ours. You're first rate. Thank you, Matthew.
All right, baby. Let's keep it up.
You got it. That's Matthew McConaughey, Academy Award winner. Love that guy, man. He's a great storyteller.
Right.
And by the way, I totally understand. Hey, we can talk about stuff before and during. There's not, right?
Yeah, you're not breaking down Dallas Buyers Club when it's 38. You know what I mean?
But we have a new fantasy team name, McConaughey's Chamois Loincloth. Right?
Man, I don't want to look at that avatar.
I don't know.
Sorry, buddy.
Yeah. That was funny. Breaking news out of the National Football League, eh? And your phone calls at 844-204-RICH when we come back right here on The Rich Eisen Show on youtube.com/Rich Eisen Show, Sirius XM Channel 211, and BCSN. All right, should I be made to be surprised by the National Football League news? Because, again, I've been interviewing people pretty much solid for 40 minutes straight.
Do you want me to just tell you what it is?
No, why don't you tell me the name of the movie you'd like to see? I mean, I don't know.
It's about the schedule.
Oh, so it's coming out next week.
That's not the part that is the news. So.
Sure, you can let me know when we come back. How about that?
Okay.
How does that sound?
Okay.
I mean, I don't know why I keep talking like this. I don't understand why we have to talk like this way.
We can also talk about Gronk. He made some news. And
he
then
did.
He sort of, but he was kidding. He was just being...
Oh, about the playbook.
Yeah.
That he got the playbook a month ago.
Yeah. He
can't kid like that, Gronk.
He didn't mean that. He tweeted out a picture of it still in the packaging that got sent to him.
Oh,
so.
I'm sure that's...
Yeah,
that they couldn't send another one in packaging to make him... send it out, and we could have anything in that FedEx.
I mean, he did an explanation. I mean,
I trust him.
I do too.
Gronk.
I don't think Gronk is. You know what I mean?
Gronk is just that's lovable.
He's not a criminal mastermind.
He is by the way, speaking of Masked Singer, oh seriously, he was just laughing.
Yeah, he's just having fun.
Gronk, Gronk, catch ball. Love this guy.
Yeah.
My kids think I'm one of the Masked Singers that's still in competition.
That you are.
You're on the
Okay, now can we break this down real quick in the 2 minutes? How would you pull this off without them finding out?
Great question. I hope to one day.
It would be great.
Figure that out.
This would be so funny.
I would do the Masked Singer and not tell my children. And Susie would be obviously a collaborator.
Sure.
Oh yeah.
And it would have to be a team effort.
But the fact that they think you could pull this off.
There's a bounty in the house. Any Obama or LeBron James or Beyonce, $100 to all the children. Because they all think that it's the most famous people. Xander last night says because one of them one of them I guess had a red 23 jersey, basketball jersey. It's part of the Clue package.
As Michael Jordan?
No, Xander runs in. I think it's LeBron James. And I say throw in LeBron with the Obamas and with Beyonce. If any of them appear on The Masked Singer, it's $100 for each of my children.
Was the costume 7 feet tall?
It doesn't. They're not. They're. I don't think they're thinking straight when they're watching that. everybody. We haven't checked on our poll question in quite some time. Christopher, do you want to update us on that on our Twitter handle at Rich Eisen Show?
Yeah,
right
of course. This stemmed from a conversation in our first hour
well,
about Jameis
also
Winston.
in the fact that tomorrow's show,
and
Jameis Winston is our first guest up on our NBCSN broadcast starting at 1 Eastern Time. Join us, the new Orleans Saints member and quarterback, Jameis Winston, will join us at the top of our NBCSN show. Have I tap danced long enough for you to update me?
No, I've got it.
Okay,
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah.
Okay.
So Andy Dalton's a free agent now, being released by the Bengals. So who'd you rather have for 2020, Andy Dalton or Jameis Winston? You're in the Jameis camp, along with 42% of our audience. Andy Dalton, 58%.
I don't understand the Jameis dislike. I know there's a ton of interceptions, but there's if you cut those interceptions in half, right? And just even that would mean fewer touchdown passes, because you would have to think, right, that some of these touchdown passes were threaded needles that potentially he wouldn't go for because he is dialing back. Less is more. How good can he be with Mike Thomas, with that offense, with Sean Payton in his head?
And now
how good could he be in that division?
Read stop
which he knows?
signs. I mean,
you love doing that, dude. You love going to LASIK joke.
I don't hate Jameis.
Okay, Andrew Marchand of the New York Post saying the NFL schedule is due to come out by May 9th. It will likely give itself the flexibility to have Saturday games on TV if there's no college season. Okay, there you go. That's the NFL news that we're teasing. The commissioner told me that it was out by May 9th.
That's the news. The flexibility to move games to Saturday. That's the news.
Okay. Let's hope that there's that flexibility. If there's no college season, that would, I guess, mean that the NFL is playing because they don't have the same issues that college has, that if there's nobody on campus, they're not having games. There's no campus for the NFL to have to be considering, other than maybe their own campus that they have to set up in the way that baseball might be considering right now.
Also, it's been talked about that college revenues are largely associated with attendance and gate.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the NFL, maybe not so much in relation to.
I don't know. We'll see how it all goes. And again, Tom Bowie, my producer, saying that college students aren't professionals. They're not professionals, but this whole construct that is set up for college football is to make as much revenue as possible. And if the kids aren't on campus, which is what every single commissioner and of all these leagues are saying, if there's no kids on campus, they're not going to have any games.
Right.
If there's no students, I don't. At some point, though, didn't the NCAA say they're considering paying the players at some point in time?
In 2021.
Lovely.
They can make money.
It's around the corner, man.
It's
around the corner. Let's go to our phone lines right now. Who has been waiting longest? That'll be Ray in Las Vegas, Nevada. What's up, Ray?
Rich, how you doing, man?
How are you,
Great
sir?
Music, man, I sure hope I was going to get to see you last week, but hey, maybe in 2 years at the draft.
We will be there with bells on, man. Vegas in 2022 is going to be a hell of a party because we missed this one this year for obvious reasons. What's on your mind?
I sure hope so. Hey, man, I got something really out of the box for you. Brockman, I'm not sure how you're going to feel about this.
Uh-oh.
How about Packers trade Rodgers to the Patriots?
Oh, you had him at hello, Ray. What else? What's next?
And then the Packers either pick up, well, now that I heard of Dalton's free, Dalton or Cam, just until Love's ready to come along.
Ray, and again, just because they draft Love doesn't mean they're uninterested in Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is the most important piece to the Green Bay Packers. Now, with Love being drafted, you have to now say he's the most important piece to the 2020 Green Bay Packers. You're not going to trade him away and stick Cam in coming in after an injury season just because they drafted Jordan Love. And as you heard what Deion had to say at the top of the hour, since you were kind enough to stay on hold as you did, that Aaron Rodgers should take the approach of I'm a dog and I'm not scared of a cat, And I think that's the approach eventually Rodgers is going to take, and the chip on his shoulder that Favre rightfully pointed out that he's got, I think is going to be turned on the opposition at some point. It's just at some point there's going to be a transition. The question is the clock starting on that. When is it? And I just think it's going to be 2-3 years from now when the Packers.
I hope so. I hope he stays there. I hope he's one of these guys to stay with the same team.
Oh, he will.
But he doesn't want to be there. But you never know.
Thank you for the call, Ray. I think he wants to be there. He's getting a lot of money to be there. It's the only team that he's known professionally. I mean, can you imagine what it must feel like to run out on Lambeau Field and hear that?
Oof.
What a rush that must be.
That
Of
place.
course, he doesn't want to give that up and start somewhere else. But again, just because the Packers draft Love, that's why I said the talk of trading him is crazy talk. But that would be, again, where you could turn around, Brockman, and say, didn't you say welcome to the rest of us? Patriots are not the rest of us. We just got Aaron Rodgers. We got 12 back.
By the way, he can wear number 12 for all I'm concerned.
Should we go in that direction? Should we go in that direction right now on Sports Talk Radio? If the Packers trade Aaron Rodgers to the Patriots, would the Patriots give him 12? Call in. Let's talk about it.
Great voice, Rich.
Split screen.
I don't know why I'm talking like this.
You could put it on a split screen.
Oh, stop it. Let's go to who's been waiting second longest. That's Michael in Louisiana, the great state of Louisiana. What's up, Michael?
Yeah, Rich, I appreciate you taking my call. I had two comments. One, I know you were fond of Coach O down here.
Oh.
I was going to tell you a story that is about 30 seconds, that College Game Day was in town, and it was his fourth game against Alabama. So he's effectively interviewing for the job. He's doing the Rosillo and Cannell show at Walk-Ons. He finishes his interview, and my son and I were there. My son goes out in the parking lot and catches him and said, "Would you take a picture with me and my dad?" And he says, "Sure, where is he?" He says, "Inside." He said, "Go get him, bring him back here." And he didn't move. And we took a picture. You can even see the Porta-John just right by the stadium in the background. And then I sent it to him, and he sent me back 2 autographed copies of it.
That's the man. He's the man. I love Coach O, bud.
I knew you would like that one.
I do like that one.
The other comment I had, I can't believe that nobody in the media has called out Isaiah Thomas, or just say the Pistons, when they keep comparing this to Boston walking off on them.
Right.
If you go back and look at the footage, which I did, that game when Boston walked off was in Detroit. The fans were getting ready to flood the court. The security was already out. You did it for safety reasons. We're not comparing apples to apples, unless for some reason Isaiah or Lambeer thought the Piston fans were going to flood the court after the Bulls beat them in Detroit.
I don't think so.
Which you know that's a flop.
Michael, that's good. Way to check the tape. And before I let you go, you've got a great set of pipes, Michael. Would you mind saying the words "Welcome back to the Rich Eisen Show," and we'll have Mike Del Tufo play it every now and then? Would you mind doing that,
I'll say one thing. First, I'll say "Go Tigers."
Okay.
And welcome back to the Rich Eisen Show.
No, Michael. Come on, really. I want full meaning. Like, just take a second, gather yourself, and just nail it, please.
Now, welcome back to the Rich Eisen Show.
Ladies and gentlemen, Michael in Louisiana. Well done. Thank you very much. Appreciate the call. By the way,
I've been following you all my life. So
well, appreciate it. Call. Keep going. You keep going too. Thank you.
Go Tag.
Great voice.
By the way, who knew when I was doing my voice like this before? I was preparing for Michael from Louisiana.
Go Tigers.
And you got Steven Dorff, right? That's the draw. I mean, he's
ready to roll on the Rich Eisen Show.
I mean, listen to that. Now that's what I wanted Michael to do.
That's the one seed. That's the one seed.
That's the one seed.
Not everyone can be Duke or Kentucky. You know what I mean?
You're listening to the Rich Eisen Show.
Oh, fantastic.
I'll be playing these again.
With all due respect.
President Palmer.
That's right. Oh, President Palmer.
Oh, yeah. Spoiler alert.
All right.
Albert in New York. Let's take your phone call. What's up, Albert?
Hey, Rich, long-time fan here. That was a great interview with the guy from 51st States. I didn't know he was such a big fan. But,
I mean, of all the movies of his entire filmography, tell me, you had his filmography up in front of you, and you chose the one that would be that one. You chose that one.
He's a great guy. But look, Rich, you had the big boss on, Mike Mayock, earlier, and I didn't know. I think you guys are too good of friends. You should have pressed them more on Derek Carr, because you have Andy Dalton on the street. You have Cam Newton on the street.
No, hey.
You think Gruden wants a guy who cries on the field?
Albert, first of all, the guy broke his leg. Secondly, I asked Mayock, I said the narrative is you got Mariota to play the role of Tannehill to Carr's Mariota. What do you say to that? I mean, like, I just laid it all out there. And he's not going to sit here and say, Carr's on thin ice. And I asked him about Brady at the Combine, and his answer was, I haven't spoken to Brady since 2007. And all he talked about was Carr not having the weapons around him, and they didn't play defense well enough. I mean, he's always going to go team first, and then he flat out said Carr's the quarterback. So, you know what I mean? I hear you, but, you know, I just had to push back a little bit there.
I appreciate it, Rich. Thanks for taking my call.
You take care of yourself. You got it. 51 dates. Wasn't it 50 first dates? What was it again?
50 first dates.
50 first dates?
Yeah.
All right. Let's go to Dave in Indianapolis. What's going on, Dave?
Rich, how you doing? Real quick, I wanted to say one thing.
Okay.
I'm a chef, and I work for Lucas Oil, and I was at the Super Bowl, and the guys I worked with, are you there?
I'm here. You're on.
The guys I work with said I wouldn't ask you this, but I have to.
Uh-oh.
I was standing in the stands, and I was trying to get your attention. I had my chef's outfit on, and as soon as you turned to me, I gave you the big OHIO. You remember that?
You know what, Ben?
That was a long time ago.
You know what? No, sorry, Dave. You know what, Dave? Dave, here's the deal. That happens to me all the friggin' time.
I'm sure it does.
And, you know, in all honesty, the one thing I remember about the final throws of that Super Bowl was that I'm on the set. It was in the stands. I'm on the set with Mariucci and Michael Irvin, and we turned around, and the fan who was in the stands right behind our set, wearing the clock around his neck, was Flavor Flav. So that's the one thing I remember. Not your trolling on my love for the University of Michigan, but it's okay.
Hey, I have two questions. One,
yes,
I'm kind of curious about the Colts taking Taylor. And the other one is I'm kind of curious why John Elway didn't go defense instead, but he took Hamler instead.
Oh,
those two.
Well, I guess my answers to that is you need multiple running backs in this business. I mean, Marlon Mack couldn't even play all 16. Mack and Taylor together are going to be just dynamite, man. I mean, just absolutely dynamite. Jonathan Taylor, let me tell you something. Even if I had Mack and somebody else, and I know they do, okay, Himes, right? So even if I have all those guys, and I see Jonathan Taylor on my board, 41st overall, even if I had 4 other running backs, I'd take him. He is just a great human and a dynamite player.
Right.
Period. End of story. And in terms of, Elway's draft, it's one of those things, too, where you might say, I need this position filled, I need that position filled. But, man, do I love this kid. And Elway even said going into the second round, and they probably were talking about it all night as soon as they're off the clock on Thursday and all day Friday. If Hamler's there at pick 46, we're going. And they did it. Yeah. And you got to help out Drew Lock, too. But, I appreciate the call, and go Blue, Dave. Right back at you. And that's the way now I hang up on him. Right? I hold no grudges. I don't remember that, but it happens all the time. Anytime I'm in the Midwest.
I've seen
and nothing compares to Canton,
Well, when
Ohio.
we go to Canton.
Oh,
yeah,
my God. But I also bring it on. I bring it on
you bring up you bring up your school's intellectual superiority during the dinner, the jacket dinner, which is an interesting time to bring that up in front of
my favorite one of those
4,000 people.
My favorite one of those is I'm hosting the jacket dinner, which is a great honor.
One of the best events.
I know you get goosebumps, right?
Oh, it's amazing.
So everybody's there to have a good time, and I show up. And I stand at the podium, and I pay it the proper respect and reverence.
Of course.
Of course. But I always give a little dig, which it's been a few years since I've done. And I've hosted every year. But this is my favorite one. My favorite one is they used to have a giveaway, a Pro Football Hall of Fame beer stein that's in the right there in front of you.
I have one.
You've got it right there.
It was the 2019. I didn't steal it.
You probably won the raffle.
I won the raffle.
It's everybody sitting
there
at the table.
I won the raffle on the table.
And how much you paid for the ticket to get to that table?
Well, it was gratis.
Yeah, exactly.
I have an Ed Reed beer can.
There you go. So that's the stein. So you're giving away those beer steins. And they tell me the number because they tell me the number
on your ticket.
Right. Oh, no, actually, this year it was the number of around the table. If you're seat
you
1,
counted.
seat 2, seat 3, seat 4, seat 5, seat 6. I said, if you're in seat 5, you win the Stein. Right. And for those Ohio State graduates, that's in between numbers 4 and 6. Oh, that was so great. And perhaps led to this chef at Lucas Oil to give me the OH. Anytime anybody does that, and I'll just front load it to anybody out there in the NBCSN audience or SiriusXM or our YouTube page. You give me the OH, I say the NO. OH, and I'm like, NO. Oh, no.
I hope we get to go back to Canton this year.
Well, you and me both. As you know, they postponed the baseball hall.
Yeah.
Which is a week before the Pro Football Hall of Fame every year.
Yeah.
So that just means, so they're just going to have the speeches the next year, and that's what we will do for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Should that happen?
We're going to be 20.
Yeah, I get it.
With
Then we'll start early, and we'll stay late. Guess what? We'll love it.
Yeah, we will.
Yeah,
we sure will. I want to thank today's guests: Jeff Passan, Mike Mayock, Joe Staley, Deion Sanders, and the Academy Award winner from 50 First Dates, apparently. Matthew McConaughey. How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days.
That was Adam Sandler.
Oh, so it's
First
How to Lose it. So he botched
He had the
it.
wrong movie.
He had the wrong movie.
He had the wrong movie.
Yeah. Ghosts of Girlfriends Past is what Don Bowie just said in my ear. Tomorrow's show, Jameis Winston leads the charge on the Rich Eisen Show on NBCSN. David Faraday will join us, and the creators of Billions, Brian Koppelman and David Levine. We will see you on Friday.